All right. How you guys doing? I got to get this stream shared a little bit. I was busy trying to jot down every single Zelda game that I could think of. And we're going to go through the list of Zelda games I got because we're including everything. We're not just going mainline. Spin-offs, CDI games will be in here. We got Zelda Game & Watch we're going to be ranking. It's literally every single Zelda game. I'm ranking it from worst to best. If you guys watch my channel, you already know which one I think is best. But there's a lot of games here. So before I get into it, I want to make sure I get this all shared out on social media. So let me get this up on like Twitter. Every single Zelda. All right. I got that out. Got to make sure our Discord peeps know what's up. All right, got that on Discord. Got that up on Twitter. We're all good to go, I think, though. All right. So you guys let me know if I'm missing anything, okay? Here's the list of games I got. I think I got 1, 2, 3. I got 34 games. But you guys let me know if I'm missing anything. Okay? So I got The Legend of Zelda, The Adventure of Link, A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, The Wind Waker, The Minish Cap, Twilight Princess, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, Skyward Sword, A Link Between Worlds, Breath of the Wild, Triforce Heroes, Four Swords Adventures, Hyrule Warriors, Zelda Game Watch, Zelda Game & Watch, BS Legend of Zelda, BS Ancient Stone Tablets, Navi's Trackers, Link's Crossbow Training, Link, The Faces of Evil, Wand of Gamelon, Zelda's Adventure, Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land, Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love, Tingle's Balloon Fight, Hyrule Warriors, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and Cadence of Hyrule. Am I missing any? My Zelda levels out there. Are there any Zelda games I'm missing? There's one I can think of right now that I don't think counts. Because it's not really a Zelda game, not really even a spin-off. It's like a mini game in another series. And if I start including that, then you got to include like Link's appearance in Mario Kart 8. So, of course, I'm talking about Battle Quest in Nintendo Land, right? There's a Zelda Battle Quest in Nintendo Land, but to me, that's just like having Link in Mario Kart 8. Not really like a Zelda game, you know? Cadence of Hyrule is a lot different than that. Cadence of Hyrule, while it's an indie game crossed with Zelda, it takes place in Hyrule. So, whereas the other stuff is not. So, am I missing anything? I legitimately want to know. I got Link's Crossbow Training down there. Nope, I said Hyrule Warriors, and then I said Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. There's 2 Hyrule Warriors games. Ocarina of Time 3D and Majora's Mask 3D are literally Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. You don't need to list them twice. We're not ranking versions of games, because then you'd have to have Link's Awakening DX, and Link's Awakening Switch. It's all just one IP. And even if you prefer the Link's Awakening version on Switch over the DX and the original, that's fine. I can consider that, I should say, in my decision. Master Quest. Okay, so I was debating on Master Quest. There is technically... very few people have played it, but there is technically a fully released version of Ocarina of Time, Master Quest. Technically, it's still Ocarina of Time, but it's a slightly altered, more difficult version. So I feel like Master Quest or, Ocarina of Time 3D, I feel like that all kind of goes together in the Ocarina of Time universe. And again, these are the kind of micro arguments we could make when we start ranking games, is how much of the original do we use versus any other additional things that have happened around that game since it originally came out, and how much we want to factor that into how we rank games. And I'm going to do my best because this is my rankings. So I want to make this clear. You guys might help debate with me. You might help me make key decisions. But at the end of the day, this is my list, okay? It's not going to match yours. I can guarantee it's not going to match yours. And because we're ranking 30-plus Zelda games, It's not going to match anybody. I don't think anyone's going to come up with the same rankings that I do, which is totally fine. So we're starting from the bottom, and we're working our way all the way to the top, even though people who watch this channel know what game is at number 1, so it's not like some massive big reveal. But things could get complicated towards the top 10. Things are going to get complicated at the bottom, if we're completely honest, because people are going to automatically assume that I'm putting the Zelda CDI games at the bottom, right? They're clearly the worst Zelda games ever made, are they not? Well, let me get out Notepad. Oh, do I have Notepad++ installed? I do not. I'm going to go download Notepad++ to help keep track. So I got all the games listed in Notepad, but I want Notepad++ to put it in a separate thing here. I don't want to use WordPad. I want to use Notepad++. So I'm going to go get that. All right. So as I'm installing that, yes, install please. Breath of the Wild, number 2 for you guys. Spoilers. So this is going to be insane. Now, I'm also doing shots and stuff, and who knows how much alcohol is going to influence my decision-making on these games. I have never ranked every single Zelda game ever released. I have ranked all of the mainline core timeline Zelda games before. But I have never ranked every single possible Zelda game out there. So, and I'm not counting fan games. I mean actual Nintendo was involved in one way or another games. Whether they published, whether it was a contract Nintendo made. So fan games obviously don't count. So we gotta get started here. And the reason I want to use Notepad++ is because I can make a spot for all of them. So we got 1, 2, 3, hold on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 34. That's right. So I got to get 34 lines here on Notepad++. And we'll start, obviously, at 34. That's one thing I like about Notepad++ is it automatically numbers the lines for you because it's for coding. All right. Let me see here. So, the worst Zelda game. This is interesting to me because you would figure you would choose one of the 3 Zelda CDI games. But you got to remember, we also have some other interesting things in here. We have BS Legend of Zelda and BS Ancient Stone Tablets. Those are 2 separate online-only games that were only ever playable through the Satellaview in Japan. Okay, this means that pretty much nobody that speaks English has ever has ever really played these games. However, they have been rebuilt quite a while ago to play currently through a web browser. So I technically have experienced both of those games. For the most part, it's basically playing through Zelda and playing through A Link to the Past. There really isn't like the original NES and then A Link to the Past and doing it online, different challenges. The thing is, I could never truly get the original experience of the BS Zelda games because the weekly updates, the daily online stuff ended long before I would have ever had a chance to do it. You have other games to consider. Obviously, we have the Tingle trilogy. Is that at the bottom? I don't think so. So I'm not gonna put the Tingle trilogy down there because the Tingle trilogy is actually pretty good. I don't know how many of you guys played it. I know a lot of people played. I think Rosie Rupee Land, I believe, because that was translated to English, but not the other 2. We have Link's Crossbow Training to consider. That's a side game. You know. But I think we can agree Link's Crossbow Training is probably better than the CDI games. So I got the BS Zelda games I'm debating between right now. The Zelda CDI games. I have, let me see here. I'm looking at my list here. There was something else. Zelda Game Watch and Zelda Game & Watch. They're practically the same, but they're 2 separate releases, and there's some slight differences between them. So I'm including them as different. Zelda Game Watch and Zelda Game & Watch as 2 separate releases. And they're barely even games. So the debate is Zelda Game Watch and Zelda Game & Watch, I think, for me, for the worst Zelda ever. Let me do some preliminary research here. I'm just literally just loading up because I didn't play either of them, and that's what's I have played both of them actually, but it was a long time ago. So Zelda Game Watch came out originally October 5th, 1989. It's a multi-purpose wristwatch made by Sonic and licensed by Nintendo. This LCD game has players compete for high scores in the Legend of Zelda inspired rooms. This is manufactured in black, red, white, and pink colors. Total 12 million of the Zelda Game & Watch systems were sold. It was one of 2 Zelda LCD games that released, the other one being Zelda Game & Watch, which people are more aware of what Zelda Game & Watch is. I'm not really sure why they're more aware of it, because 12 million versus 3 million, but for some reason people are well aware of Zelda Game & Watch and not Zelda Game Watch. But to me, this is back in the day when you had those little LCD screens. Like it wasn't fun. The games weren't fun. So the gameplay where the player controls Link as he enters the dungeons to retrieve 4 pieces of the Triforce. The game consists of 4 dungeons, each with 4 rooms. In each room, Link has to collect a boomerang to defeat the iron balls, or a sword to defeat the key/bats. So I'm just looking at it right now. I'm going to say that I think I'm going to put Zelda Game Watch as the worst. So at number 34, I'm going to put Zelda Game Watch. And then I'm going to put Zelda Game & Watch at 33. So look, believe it or not, the CDI games are not the worst games ever made. Even though Nintendo's trying to pretend they don't exist. So I got my bottom 2. I'm pretty sold on my bottom 2 being the Zelda Game Watch, Zelda Game & Watch. Because the CDI games are technically like full games. There's a beginning. There's an end. They're long. They're very difficult to play. I'm not saying they're good, but Zelda Game Watch and Zelda Game & Watch don't really feel like games and are even more difficult to play. So the worst Zelda game of all time I have right now is Zelda Game Watch. Second worst is Zelda Game & Watch. All right, so let me go cross that off on my list here. Let's see, Zelda Game Watch, Zelda Game & Watch. Okay, next up then, for the third worst Zelda game of all time, obviously now I kind of have it down to one of the 3 CDI games, or the BS Zelda or BS Ancient Stone Tablets. It's tough, again, because I didn't get to experience the BS Zelda and BS Ancient Stone Tablets in a way that is beneficial to my experience as a gamer, in the intended way they were meant to be played. So yeah, there's board games. We're talking just about video games. So I think I'm going to put Zelda's Adventure here. All right, and I'm going to explain why that to me is the worst of the 3 CDI games. So if you've never played the Zelda CDI games, Zelda's Adventure might look to you to be the best of the 3. It's top down. It plays like traditional Zelda. But I'm telling you right now, if you actually go get a Philips CDI, or let's be honest, you go emulate the games, and you go play Zelda's Adventure, it is one of the worst games you'll ever play in your life. It makes the other 2 games seem good. That's how bad Zelda's Adventure is. It's just horrendous. There's no redeeming qualities other than you technically can beat the game. But good luck. Good luck. It's horrible. Zelda's Adventure is horrible. But it's technically a complete game, so it comes just ahead of the Game & Watch, and it is what it is. All right, so next up. This is where I'm going to end up putting BS Legend of Zelda. And I'm putting BS Legend of Zelda here below the other 2 CDI games. Mostly because I couldn't experience it in its intended form. And between the 2 BS Zeldas, Ancient Stone Tablets was a more fun experience to me. And the other 2 CDI games, they're not good. But they're not as bad as you think. As Christopher Lockhart said, if you go watch the Angry Video Game Nerds CDI episodes if you want to learn more, those other 2, Wanda Gamelon and Link Faces of Evil, they're not quite as bad as you really think they are or should be, or what they're made out to be. There's lots of memes, of course. But, yeah, see, BS Legend of Zelda, it's more a fault that I just didn't get to experience it the way that it was intended to play. The only way I could play it really wasn't fun at all. And I actually had some fun with the other games. So, next up, Well, to me, it's really between Link Faces of Evil and Wand of Gamelon. They're the next two for me. So I actually find that Wand of Gamelon is my favorite of the CDI games. So I'm going to go with Link Faces of Evil here at number 30. All right, so our order right now is at 34, Zelda Game Watch, 33, Zelda Game and Watch, 32, Zelda's Adventure. Sorry, gotta make sure I got Zelda's Adventure, CDI game. Next, BS Legend of Zelda, and number 30 with Link Faces of Evil. And then number 29 is going to be Wand of Gamelon. I think the bottom of this list is probably the easiest for me to make, even though I have some internal debates, because none of these games are good. I mean, at 28, it's BS Ancient Stone Tablets. And the only reason that I rank that higher is the version that I'm able to play online, which is still not the original experience, really feels good. It feels probably better than it actually felt doing it for real. Like, it's like almost a complete experience. It's like playing A Link to the Past all over again. So, I'm going to put BS Ancient Stone Tablets here at 28. So, yeah. All right. I don't think there's going to be too much debate about the bottom of this list. Not a lot of people are going to be passionate about any of these games. Most of you guys haven't even played any of these. So it's really hard for you guys to even contribute to that conversation. But I do need to delete these from the list of games here. So I have that taken care of. Where is Zelda's Adventure? Wand of Gamelon, Link's Faces of Evil. Okay, I got rid of that from the list. All right. So next up. This is where it gets a little more difficult. So, there's Navi's Trackers. I don't know how many people know what Navi's Trackers is. I don't believe that game ever came out outside of Japan. I'm going to double check on that. I played a Japanese ROM of it. But to give you an idea, Navi's Trackers is a puzzle-based treasure hunting game that was included in the Japanese and Korean versions of Four Swords Adventures. The game was formerly planned as a standalone title named Tetris Trackers, but it was turned into an optional mode of Four Sword Adventures somewhere along the line of development. Players use Game Boy Advances as game screens and controllers via a link cable, while the television screen shows navigators narrating the action and a basic map. In this game, Tetra or other navigators serve as guides to Link as he searches the land for members of Tetra's pirate gang in a specific order to gain stamps from them. Link must collect as many stamps as possible within a given time limit. In the multiplayer game, players must compete with each other to gain high scores. In a single-player game, the player has the choice of playing against Tingle in a Tingle battle or collecting stamps alone within a given time limit called Time Attack. Very basic principle of a game, but it actually worked really well. What I was able to play of it worked really, really well. So it's definitely what I would call a pretty decent game. But I'm looking at the rest of the list, and I'm trying to think of what else could be worse. And honestly, unfortunately for Navi's Trackers, I think it has to go at number 27. Again, most of you guys haven't played these games, so you're not going to have very much thoughts on them. But Navi's Trackers, I guess maybe the closest comparison would be like a Link's Crossbow Training. But Link's Crossbow Training is but put it this way, Link's Crossbow Training is legitimately a good game. Navi's Trackers is okay. Just okay. It's not a bad game. It's just not, something to write home about. Thank you so much to Apple Jack Pony and the Key Blade Artist for following over on Twitch. All right. So now we get to the next spot, number 26. All right. This is tough. I struggle with 26. Okay? Because 26 is where we start getting real. Now we're getting in the games that all of them are pretty good. Link's Crossbow Training obviously feels like it should be coming up here. But you also have all the Tingle games. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't think anybody in the chat of the 50-plus people we have watching have played any of the Tingle games. Have you? Admit it. Is there anyone in the chat who's even played a single Tingle game? I'll wait. I say this because the Tingle games are phenomenal. Phenomenal. Legitimately phenomenal games. I'm not even kidding. Like, there's one of the games in particular I'm literally tempted to put in the top 5 games. That's how good these games are, and it sucks that Nintendo didn't try to advertise them really outside of Japan because they didn't think we would like Tingle. Basically, one of the games went to Europe. The other two never left Japan because they didn't think we would like it. You get to... The Too Much Tingle pack includes all 3 games. So, let me just tell you, you guys like dark stories in Zelda, right? I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't? Well, let me tell you. The backstory for Tingle, as you learn throughout the Tingle trilogy, is super dark. It makes Majora's Mask look like babies. That's how dark the backstory for Tingle is. Like, by the time you finish the trilogy, you legitimately think Tingle is the greatest character to ever exist in Zelda. What he has gone through, and he can still make maps for you after the bullshit that he had to deal with from his parents, the bullshit he had to deal with Mr. Rupee. Oh, dude. There is some serious shit going on. I don't know why this person's trying to message me. Anyways. So, that being said, I'm putting Phantom Hourglass here. I'm waiting for the shock that I'm ranking the Tingle games and Link's Crossbow Trading ahead of Phantom Hourglass, let alone Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, Cadence of Hyrule, etc. Guys, Phantom Hourglass, to me, is a terrible Zelda game. It's not a bad game. It's a terrible Zelda game. For those who don't know, in this game, in Phantom Hourglass, there is a dungeon that you go back to like 50 times. Okay, it's the end dungeon, but it's also like the between dungeon. And every time you visit this dungeon, you have to redo all the parts of the dungeon you've already done all over again. The game makes you repeat this process over dozens and dozens of hours. To the point, the game is so repetitive, it makes you not want to beat it. And the thing is, it sucks because there's legitimately good dungeons in this game. Good boss fights, some good gameplay, and a decent story. But because you need to repeat this same dungeon ad nauseum so many goddamn times, it ends up just being a chore. And if a game ever feels a chore to get through, it's just not that good of a game. So I put Phantom Hourglass here. And ironically, I actually think very highly of Spirit Tracks, where you also revisit the same dungeon. But Spirit Tracks fixed it. When you visit the dungeon, you're always doing new levels in that dungeon. You're not repeating the old ones to then get to the new ones. Spirit Tracks fixed that problem. Temple of the Ocean King, Christian Grula says, but compared to the Tower of Spirits, it's nothing. I don't mind the Tower of Spirits. You do not repeat levels in Tower of Spirits. You go back to the Tower of Spirits, but you do not repeat things you did the time before. Phantom Hourglass, you constantly are repeating in Temple of the Ocean King. Constantly repeating. Now, there's a lot of different merits because there's other aspects of the game besides just that dungeon. But not a fan of Phantom Hourglass at all. I'll explain why I'm a fan of Spirit Tracks later. Because Spirit Tracks is not next on the list at all. So let me go delete Phantom Hourglass off the list here. That's our first core mainline Zelda game ranked. Alright. Alright. Next up. Tingle's balloon fight. In my opinion, Tingle's balloon fight is the worst of the Tingle games. I don't really want to get too deep into it. I'll just give you like a quick summary off like a Wikipedia, so you kind of have an idea of what the game is kind of about. Because I know a lot of you guys don't know anything about about the Tingle games. It says, so Tingle's Balloon Fight on the DS is an action platform game released only in Japan. Although it was planned to go global, it never did. Tingle's Balloon Fight is one of the spin-off titles for the Legend of Zelda series. It features Tingle in a starring role. This game is the second game that featured Tingle as a main character after freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land, which that's usually the one that people know about, is that one, because that was the first one. The game features the classic balloon fight setting and was released exclusively to platinum-ranked members of Club Nintendo in Japan. If you're lucky, you can still find these on eBay. It was very hard to get this game. Okay. The stories of a 35-year-old Tingle challenging the balloon fighting spirit of the Blossom Oak. Also, after some glitches, other playable characters can be played, such as Mario, DK, and Game & Watch. It basically, Tingle's Balloon Fight is basically like an old school NES game that isn't very good. It's not, it's got some story in it, but this is like the worst of all of the Tingle games. It's just not good. It's legitimately not a good game in comparison to the rest of the list. All right. Next up is Link's Crossbow Training. At number 24. I don't have anything really negative to say about Link's Crossbow Training. It's fun for what it is. It really is. It's not very long. Doesn't have any story, really. But it was really meant as a demo for the light gun accessory for Wii. I mean, that's basically what Link's Crossbow Training was. It was a demo, essentially, for the light gun. It was packaged in using Zelda's name to sell light gun accessories. There was really no point to the game. It was just shoot monsters down for fun. The end. It's fun. It's better than Tingle's Balloon Fight. Still doesn't make it a good game. All right. Let me eliminate that one off the list. Again, I don't think too many people are going to debate where I'm placing these, except for people having me put Phantom Hourglass so low. Some people are not going to be happy that Phantom Hourglass is below all three Tingle games, but I really don't like Phantom Hourglass. Like, legitimately, if someone asks me if there's a Zelda game I hate, it's Phantom Hourglass. I just with an unhealthy rage. All right. Next up is tough, because it's really between Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love, which released on August 6, 2009. There's hardly any information in English about it, but it's a really good game. It's a proper sequel to Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land. And then you have Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land, freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land to be exact. In fact, I'll write that name down when I add it to the list. And we know more about that game because there is an English version of it. So it's a pretty normal 35-year-old man was sitting at home until a voice from above tells him that he can have money and women in Rupee Land. The voice tells him to go to the pond next to his house. The 35-year-old does this and comes upon Uncle Rupee. Uncle Rupee dresses up the 35-year-old and tells him from then on his name would be Tingle. He then tells him that if he can collect and toss enough rupees in that pool, he will come to Rupee Land. Tingle does this, but only to find out that Uncle Rupee wants the riches for himself. Tingle then battles Uncle Rupee as he lied, and Rupee Land is not paradise, but more of the opposite. So the general premise is that in the first game is that Tingle was betrayed and basically ends up in a version of hell. It's not good. It's really dark when you play it. It seems very un-Nintendo-like. And yeah. But see, I played Tingle's Balloon. Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love. Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love. Tingle's basically trying to find a mate, trying to find a wife. I'm trying to find a way to explain this. You can find a couple of videos of it online, but it's actually legitimately a fully fleshed out game, a fully fleshed out adventure game, with Tingle trying to find love. The translated version of it I played is pretty rough, but this is where I'm gonna go with freshly picked Tingle's Rupee Land at number 23, and then at number 22, we'll go with Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love. I just think Balloon Trip of Love is the pinnacle of the Tingle series, and it gets into even more dark themes. There's a line in the game that makes it sound like Tingle was raped as a child. I'm just putting that as like how dark this game gets. Could be a mistranslation, but it was in the translation version of the game that I did. So there we go. Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love at number 22. All right, so let me get rid of the Tingle games off the list. Notice we still have both Hyrule Warriors games on here. Do I have too many games? Maybe I didn't do this right. All right. Both Hyrule Warrior games on here. Got Cadence of Hyrule. Still to go. So I have both Four Swords games on there. So, yes, I'm ranking every single game. It's like 33 or 34 games. Can you make a video about why you hate Phantom Hourglass? I love watching critique videos, even on games I like or games I haven't played yet. I would, but I no longer have. So I used to have one of those modded 3DSs that you could record footage off of. I don't have it anymore. So when talking about that game, I would want to actually go into it and show specific things. And I don't really want to dig through other people's YouTube videos when I know exactly what I want. So I think I'm probably never going to make that video. There is an article of it. If you go to zeldadungeon.net and you look up my username there, good luck. I've written like 80,000 posts. But there is an article I wrote about it once, about all the reasons I don't like Phantom Hourglass. I don't know if I'm ever going to revisit that because I just feel like I have better things to do with my time than talk about something I don't like. Did I play Cadence of Hyrule in freebie mode? I played both modes. Cadence of Hyrule. All right. Next up. All Zelda games are not mainline. Now, that being said, they could be canon. As an example, the Tingle games, the Tingle trilogy is actually canon to Zelda lore. The story in there is canon for the character of Tingle in The Legend of Zelda. But the CDI games are not canon. The CDI games are shunned by Nintendo and are not considered part of Zelda lore. That's more of the distinction there. I'm not sure how they feel about the Game & Watch stuff in particular, but I know for sure Nintendo tries to pretend the Zelda CDI games never happened. Everything else is pretty much somewhere in there. You can kind of squeeze it in if you want. Not even in different timelines. Like, you could squeeze them in somewhere. So the list so far. Someone wants to see it. Let me see if I can make this work. Hold on. It should be under window capture, I think. Properties. Notepad++. All right. I think this is going to work. Here we go. So I don't know how well you can see that list. Hey, we have a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Adam Butters. So the list, I'll blow it up for you guys so you can see it a little better. So that's the list so far. So at number 34, we got Zelda Game & Watch. Or Zelda Game Watch. At number, got to go at 33, Game & Watch. And I might be off by one. There might only be 33 games. BS Legend of Zelda. Link Faces of Evil. Wand of Gamelon. BS Ancient Stone Tablets. Navi's Trackers. Phantom Hourglass. Tingle's Balloon Fight. Link's Crossbow Trading. Freshly picked Tingle's, I think it's Rosy Rupee Land. I think I forgot a word in there. It's a really long name. And then Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love. So there you go. That's what I got right now. Cheers. All right. So after the Tingle games, things get interesting. So by default, I'm putting Four Swords here. Four Swords is also a canon Zelda game. The reason Four Swords is going here isn't because it's bad. There just isn't a lot to it. If you don't know, Four Swords is basically just a multiplayer battle game. That's basically it. There really isn't much more to it. But let me dive a little. That's selling it a little short. That's what it's known for. So here's it go. It's a game for the Game Boy Advance. It was released alongside A Link to the Past, so it was like packaged in. All right. And basically, a lot of people played it through the Four Swords Anniversary Edition, by the way. But long ago in the Kingdom of Hyrule, there appeared a wind sorcerer named Vaati. Vaati could bend the wind to his will and use this awful power to terrorize many villages of Hyrule. In his assaults on the villages, Vaati would kidnap any beautiful girls who caught his fancy. Many knights from the castle and other brave men set out to subdue the sorcerer and rescue the girls, but each one failed to turn Vaati's awesome power. As the people had begun to lose hope, a lone young boy traveling with a little but a sword at his side appeared. Of course, we're talking about Link. It says he'll defeat the sorcerer, all that jazz. And there's just a bunch of stages. So there are a number of stages in Four Swords, especially the Anniversary Edition. They are listed below. There are 4 stages to choose from at the start of the game. Chamber of Insight, Sea of Trees, Death Mountain, and Talus Cave. The Chambers of Insight is a tutorial level and isn't necessary to complete it to finish the game. At the end of each of the other 3, you will be granted a silver key, providing you gained access as a team to a total of at least 1,000 rupees. After you've collected the 3 silver keys, Vaati's palace will appear. You will only be able to go through the first door, however. After you have finished the first door in Vaati's palace, you will unlock the Realm of Memories. This has 3 doors, each one unlocking the next. The first one is based on A Link to the Past, the second one on Link's Awakening, and the third on the original Legend of Zelda. After you complete these 3, you will receive the Master Sword, which allows you to shoot beams when your health is full. When you have reached 30,000 rupees, you will unlock the Hero's Trial. These stages are hard and have more enemies than any other level in Four Swords, etc., etc. And then you can like team up with multiple units and do multiplayer. So the big thing here is that there's actually a lot more to this game than people realize. I think that's the big thing. There's a lot more to Four Swords than people realize. But I still put it down here because I'm looking at the list of what's left, and I just like everything else. I like everything else there is better. Remakes are not separate entries. They're all considered the same game. My family's doing good, It's going fine. All right, so I put Four Swords there at 21. Now, you might think, oh, man, he's going to go with, like, you know, he's got to get Cadence of Hyrule out of the way, right? He's got to get Hyrule Warriors or something out of the way, right? He's got to get, you know, Four Swords Adventures or Triforce Heroes or something like that out of the way, right? I'm about to piss off a lot of people. I don't know if I can do it yet. Maybe I need to be nice. People are going to get pissed off either way. All right. No, I can't do it yet. I can't do it yet. Because earnestly, anyone who follows me over the years will know what I'm talking about. Earnestly, I can't put it there yet. The game I'm thinking of, I can't put it there yet. So next up, we're going to go with Cadence of Hyrule. Now look. This is nothing against Cadence of Hyrule, okay? It's a great game, a great indie game, a great crossover game. It's just not my cup of tea. I played a lot of it, never really got into it, didn't really appeal to me. Nothing to do with the quality of the game. It's just I really wasn't into the gameplay style, no matter if you went in free play mode or if you did it the way it was intended to be played. I was not that enamored by it. Did I enjoy it more than Four Swords? Yes. But I wasn't so enamored by Cadence of Hyrule that I really think I could legit put other games below it that I haven't already put there. So, Cadence of Hyrule, it's there. It's a quality entry. Just not my cup of tea. All right. Do I do it now? No, we're not going there yet. All right. Next up is The Legend of Zelda. Yes, that original release back on the NES. Now look, all-time classic. The game that started it all. The one whose 35th anniversary is today, right? Released on the Famicom 35 years ago today. There's nothing in particular I will say about The Legend of Zelda on NES that's bad. It's open world. You can do things in any order you want. It's got a very basic story, but so did pretty much everything else on the NES back then. And it's the game that created the entire series. All right? The Legend of Zelda is just not a game I enjoy very much. I have beaten The Legend of Zelda on NES, God, a dozen times, maybe more. I used to try to play it every single year, at least once, to remind myself where Zelda came from. But I just can't bring myself to enjoy it that much. And it's weird saying that. As someone who loves Zelda so much, it's weird saying that. But I've just never, even when I was a kid, I just never really enjoyed the original game that started everything as much as others. Now, there are some people that will swear by this game, that still think this is a top 5 worthy game in the series. But it just isn't for me. It just isn't for me. I'm sorry. It's just not. Next up. Hyrule Warriors. Now look. We're talking about the original Hyrule Warriors. Came on a Wii U. Then there was the, Legendary Edition or whatever the hell they called it on 3DS. And they added Linkle and all that with the extra DLC. And then they ported all of that, combined them all together, and released it again on Switch. So, Hyrule Warriors. Whatever version you want to reference. You can say the Switch version since that's actually the complete version of Hyrule Warriors. So, Definitive Edition, right? Is that what they call it? Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition? I don't know. I didn't buy it on Switch because I already played it on 3DS and Wii U. Here's the thing. I really enjoyed Hyrule Warriors. I really enjoy Hyrule Warriors. I don't like Warriors games, but because it's Zelda, I ended up really enjoying Hyrule Warriors. I enjoyed the story a lot. I enjoyed the fact that there was this evil character that was basically obsessed with Link, wanted to marry Link. Sia, just really wanted Link hardcore. And I liked the whole split personality thing that happened with the story that turned into 2 different characters. Something we've seen in other games like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 with Mithra and Pyra. So, it was really cool to see, this multiple personality, split character thing going on, good and evil. It was really cool. It was a really neat and interesting story. And how the game ends honestly surprised me a little bit. And I really enjoyed all the sheer amount of playable characters. There really isn't much negative I have to say about Hyrule Warriors. It's just, it's not a Zelda game in the traditional sense. And there's nothing really going on with it that's making me, what? There's nothing really going on with it that makes it really worse than a normal Zelda game, other than I just prefer the gameplay style of traditional Zelda games more. But I did enjoy Hyrule Warriors more than the original Legend of Zelda. So, there it is. There it is. Also had really amazing DLC. It's just, I didn't like it better than traditional Zelda games, other than Phantom Hourglass, which I just don't like at all, and then the original Legend of Zelda. Alright. Next up. I gotta be honest. This was tough. Because part of me, for the same reasons that Hyrule Warriors is there, makes me want to put Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity next. But Age of Calamity is sort of a canon Zelda game. And I really like the story a lot. So much so I'm not going to put it next. Instead, I'm so sorry. Four Swords Adventures. You're up next. Now look, I got Four Swords Adventures on, God, I can't remember, one of my birthdays when I was a kid. I got it. I got the link cables. I didn't have enough link cables for my friends. We all had enough. We had enough. What was it? Game Boy Advances at the time. We had enough of them, but we didn't have enough link cables. I remember running out to Kmart at the time and getting extra link cables on my birthday, so all of my friends that were over for my birthday party could play with me. I remember that distinctly. I had a great time with Four Swords Adventures. I have a great time with it to this day. You fire up a GameCube and slap Four Swords Adventures in, and I will play that thing from start to finish same day and have a blast. It's just not very long. Single player, multiplayer, it's just not very long. It's fun. It's the first real taste most people had at any sort of multiplayer Zelda. Yeah, I forget what the cables were called. Link cable. So what you had were, what were those? I feel like they were called link cables. Maybe they had a slightly different name. So there was these cables you had to buy to use your Game Boy Advance to play multiplayer Four Swords Adventure. So basically, you wanted to play 4-player Four Swords Adventure, you had to have 4 Game Boy Advances, and you had to buy these cables that would plug into the GameCube controller ports and then plug into the Game Boy Advances. The Game Boy Advances would then not only act as your controller in the game, they would actually offer second screen gaming in the game. So when you would go inside buildings in Four Swords Adventures, you would actually appear inside that building on your individual GBA while your other friends are off doing whatever. They could be doing something on the big screen while you're inside one of the buildings in the game on your own little screen. It was kind of like a Wii U experience, except with multiple game pads. Right? Like, it was actually a really neat idea and a really good game. I like it, again, more than The Legend of Zelda. I like it more than Phantom Hourglass. More than the original Hyrule Warriors. But it just wasn't long enough for me. I was left wanting at the end. It took a hit from the logistics. And I was one of the few people that literally, as soon as I got it, I had all the stuff I needed to play with a bunch of people. We had 2 Game Boy Advances in the house, so I could always play multiplayer. But it just a little too cumbersome. I think is maybe why I'm holding it back, more so than how the game ended. Just a little too cumbersome. All right. Next up, it's Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Now look, my heart of hearts wants to put Age of Calamity much higher on this list. Really want to go much higher on this list. But I just can't. I can't bring myself to do it. I really can't. I just, something about that hack and slash gameplay just isn't as satisfying to me as Zelda. As any sort of Zelda game for the most part. It's more complete of a game than Four Swords Adventures and less cumbersome. I like it better than the original Legend of Zelda and Phantom Hourglass, but it's just, all the rest of the games above it to me are just better games. Doesn't mean Age of Calamity is bad. It's just, again, not my cup of tea. Really love the story though. The story's awesome. Okay, how many games I got left? I have 1, 2, 3. Wait, no, I already did that one. Got to delete this one. So I got to make sure my list is right here. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right, yep. So I was off. So there's 33 Zelda games here, not 34. So let me delete a line. All right. So let me show you guys my list so far. All right. So we got Zelda Game & Watch at the bottom, then Zelda Game & Watch, then Zelda's Adventure, then BS Legend of Zelda, then Link's Faces of Evil, then Wand of Gamelon, then BS Ancient Stone Tablets, then Navi's Trackers, then Phantom Hourglass, then Tingle's Balloon Fight, then Link's Crossbow Training, then freshly picked Tingle's Rupee Land, then Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love, Four Swords, Cadence of Hyrule, The Legend of Zelda, Hyrule Warriors, Four Swords Adventures, then Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. We're getting to our top 14. This is where things start to get serious. This is where things start to get serious. Because now we're getting into games that pretty much everyone agrees is good besides one game. There's one game left in the list that I think a lot of people would put really, really low, but it's not really, really low for me. And you'll see when I get to that game later. For now, Oracle of Seasons. Now, really, you could argue Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages are close enough to the same, right? It's kind of like dual Pokemon games. But there are differences in the gameplay from the Seasons and Ages. Significant differences in the story, too. And there was originally supposed to be a third game that tied it all together that never actually happened. It was supposed to be a Capcom trilogy. Never occurred. But I just like the Ages mechanic better than Seasons. So that's why Oracle of Ages is actually the next game up, because I do like Oracle of Ages just a bit better. And to be honest, my parents got me Oracle of Ages, and I played that more than I played Oracle of Seasons. I beat them both. But I played Oracle of Seasons later, and I just found that, hey, I experienced Oracle of Ages first, and I just enjoyed it more. Now, to talk about why I like these, the games ahead of it. I don't know. I can just talk about those games when I get there. So those are my next two. Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages. All right. Let me get them off the list here. All right. So next up. Here it comes. A Link to the Past. Doesn't make my top 10. Nothing wrong at being at number 12. There really is nothing bad I have to say about A Link to the Past. It is the game that set the Zelda formula. Basically up until Breath of the Wild. Every single Zelda game after A Link to the Past was built upon the formula set up by A Link to the Past, right up until Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild changed the game. But every Zelda game after A Link to the Past was built upon A Link to the Past. Great freaking game. It just so happens there's 11 Zelda games I like more than it. Nothing wrong with the game. It's just there's games I like more. I'll show you the list. Had some people asking what the list is so far. So here we go. We got Zelda Game & Watch at the bottom. Or Zelda Game Watch. Then Zelda Game & Watch. Then Zelda's Adventure. Then BS Legend of Zelda. Then Link Faces of Evil. Wand of Gamelon. BS Ancient Stone Tablets. Navi's Trackers. Phantom Hourglass. Tingle's Balloon Fight. Link's Crossbow Training. Freshly Picked Tingle's Rupee Land. Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love. Four Swords. Cadence of Hyrule. The Legend of Zelda. Hyrule Warriors. Four Swords Adventures. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Oracle of Seasons. Oracle of Ages. And now A Link to the Past. Okay. Now, this is where people are going to get mad. Next up is Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time, Ocarina, however you want to pronounce it. Just outside the top 10. Now, it's been in my top 10 before, of course, because all the games ahead of it didn't always exist. But Ocarina of Time is not a bad game. At this point, we're to the point where they're pretty much from the moment we hit Four Swords. Cadence of Hyrule. From the moment we hit the number 19 spot, every single game moving forward was going to be good. Okay? So we're not debating on how great Ocarina of Time is. I'm not debating on Ocarina of Time's importance to the Zelda franchise. It was a critically important game. It successfully took Zelda from a top-down into a full third-person 3D world perspective, and it did it in a way that was revolutionary for the time and inspired many games that came out of it, or came after, right? Ocarina of Time is often credited for establishing the Zelda formula. That's a lie. It's A Link to the Past that did it. But I do like Ocarina of Time more than A Link to the Past. I always have. I always will. It took me 2 years to beat Ocarina of Time when I was a kid. I rented it from Blockbuster. Never returned it. Ironically, I started making Zelda fan sites after Ocarina of Time. But at that time, to be fair, I'd only experienced like 3 Zelda games. So I didn't really have a lot of opinions either way at that time of how much I enjoyed or didn't enjoy Ocarina of Time. But Ocarina of Time as important as it is, as much as I love the music, as much as I love the time traveling mechanic and the story, honestly, I don't really enjoy the dungeons in it that much. I don't actually think the dungeons are very good. They're not bad. They certainly thought they were good as a kid, but in hindsight, compared to all the other games I've played, they're just okay. It's just okay. The boss fights they're just okay. I don't think it's a bad game. I just enjoyed 10 more Zelda games more than it. All right. That was the controversial one. Anytime I mention where I rank Ocarina of Time, I always rank it right outside my top 10 for a while now, since Breath of the Wild came out. So people get really upset with me just even when I put it outside the top 5, let alone outside the top 10. Especially when you consider what's still on my list. Because, sure, I still have the Adventure of Link on my list. Sure, I still have Triforce Heroes on my list. I still have A Link Between Worlds. The Minish Cap. See, people can understand if you ranked any 3D Zelda ahead of Ocarina of Time. Like, okay, yeah, maybe you just preferred all the other 3D Zeldas. But I didn't just prefer other 3D Zeldas more. Okay. Mike Mendez, there's a hot take. Breath of the Wild's not top 10. Well, hey, your list is going to be different than mine. That's how it goes. All right. Next. The game spent a while in my top 5. This game... Oh, I gotta get rid of A Link to the Past on the list. Sorry, I forgot to delete that off here. And now I got rid of Ocarina of Time. I got to keep this list updated. Nate, come on, so I know what I'm looking at here. Because I'm not sure which order these are going in, by the way. Besides, I know what's number 1. But I don't know what the order is for the rest right this second. So I'm kind of thinking about this as I go. This next one's tough. But I went back and replayed it last week. And I realized that maybe I had some nostalgia glasses when I used to keep this game in the top 5. Because it's not as good as I remember it being. But I still enjoyed it more than all the games below. And that's Spirit Tracks. Now look, Spirit Tracks isn't very popular. Spirit Tracks isn't very well liked. People hated the train. I don't know why. They just did. And I get wanting a more open, free experience. Like, even in Phantom Hourglass, you can still freely kind of sail, around. And in this game, you can't. You're on rails. You could choose, to change rails and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed the on-rails combat they put in it, where you're shooting the cannon at the enemies. I really enjoyed the dungeons in this game. Oh, my God. Spirit Tracks dungeons, to me, are like top-tier dungeons. That includes the Tower of Spirits. Had some of the most clever puzzles to date. The whole mechanic of Princess Zelda in this game. Love it. Love it. I love Spirit Tracks. I love it. It's weird. I have like this unfounded, almost sort of love and affinity for this game in a way that I have kind of an unfounded hatred for Phantom Hourglass. They're so closely linked together and have so many similar gameplay mechanics. And yet one of them I love and the other I hate. It's really minute things that make me love or hate. They dance a fine line. And Spirit Tracks just happens to dance on the right side of that line. And it dances on the right side of that line for me more than even Ocarina of Time. And people get pissed when they find out I put Spirit Tracks ahead of Ocarina of Time. But I really don't give a shit. It's my list. Make your own. All right. Next up. We're getting to some tough choices now. We're getting into some tough choices. So what I have left to choose between from my top 9 is The Adventure of Link, which I know a lot of you guys would have already written that up by now. Majora's Mask, The Wind Waker, The Minish Cap, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, A Link Between Worlds, Breath of the Wild, and Triforce Heroes. That's what I have left for my top 9. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Am I forgetting Link's Awakening? Did I forget to put Link's Awakening on my list? Hold on. How dare I forget to add Link's Awakening? I guess there is 34. How did I forget Link's Awakening? I was gonna say I knew Link's Awakening was in my top 10. Oh, I made it. Oopsie. I asked you guys beforehand if I had every game. I was missing Link's Awakening. I just realized as I wound this down, I'm like, wait a second. Where the F is Link's Awakening? Because Link's Awakening I know is in my top 10. So I guess Spirit Tracks is at 11. Ocarina of Time's at 12. All right. Corrected it. Got Link's Awakening added back to my list because I thought I was crazy. I went through, I'm like, I don't remember putting Link's Awakening down. Link's Awakening wouldn't be that low on my list. All right. Got Link's Awakening. It's all a dream. All right. Next up, the Minish Cap. So the Minish Cap is a fun game. I don't know how many of you guys played it. Hopefully a lot. It is the last game that Capcom made for Zelda, so it completed the Capcom trilogy of games. And it had a really interesting mechanic where you could put on Ezlo, the cap, and he would shrink you down to like the size of a little tiny, they were like mouse creatures. I forget what they were called. The Minish. They were called the Minish. Duh. Minish Cap. Anyways, it's been a while since I played it. But a really interesting mechanic, really fun boss fights, really interesting story. Everything about the game is just really, really good. And the Minish Cap doesn't get enough love. I mean, there's people even in the chat saying, man, you got the Picori, man. Oh, yeah, the Picori. That's what they're called. The Picori. Yeah, like, the Minish Cap is very underrated. Most people wouldn't even have, Minish Cap in their top 10. Mine is in there right at number 10. I struggle with it because every time I play it, I seem to bump it up a couple games, but then it always falls back down. Which means, to me, it's probably just while I'm playing it, I'm having a lot of fun, but then as I play other Zelda games, I'm reminded that I enjoy them more. So, nothing wrong with the Minish Cap. It's the best of the Capcom trilogy by far, but there it is at number 10. All right. Next up. This is actually really tough. I'm running out of easy choices. Oh God. Oh man. All right. I'm having a hard time right now. So I have a general idea of what my top 5 is, but I'm not so sure. So right now I'm debating for number 9. I'm debating between Triforce Heroes, A Link Between Worlds. Oh, I gotta delete Minish Cap off here. God. And Twilight Princess. I can't believe it. Okay, A Link Between Worlds is next. Now look, A Link Between Worlds to me is basically everything that A Link to the Past was, but better. I just like it better. I like it significantly better. It's everything A Link to the Past was, but better. Same world, better visuals. To me, a better story, better gameplay mechanics, switching between the worlds through the cracks and everything. Really enjoyed the dual personalities with Hilda and all that. Like I really liked A Link Between Worlds a ton. So I got A Link Between Worlds at number 9. Next up, let me eliminate A Link Between Worlds here. So we're in our top 8 Zelda games of all time right now. Top 8. All right, I'll show you the list. If you haven't seen it in a few games, just to remind you where we're at. So again, Zelda Game Watch, Zelda Game & Watch, Zelda's Adventure. See if I can just go line by line. Zelda's Adventure, BS Legend of Zelda, Link Faces of Evil, Wand of Gamelon, BS Ancient Stone Tablets, Navi's Trackers, Phantom Hourglass, Tingle's Balloon Fight, Link's Crossbow Training, Freshly Picked Tingle's Rupee Land, Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love, Four Swords, Cadence of Hyrule, The Legend of Zelda, Hyrule Warriors, Four Swords Adventures, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Spirit Tracks, The Minish Cap, and A Link Between Worlds. That's where we're at right now. That's where we're at right now. Okay? It's a lot of games. God, there's a lot of Zelda games. We're getting to some tough choices right now. I just can't. I wanted to hold on longer, but I can't. I'm sorry, Triforce Heroes. Now look. Triforce Heroes is a misunderstood game. Multiplayer Zelda, you can play a single player, of course. You can always play their multiplayer game single player. But playing online was frustrating. playing online was frustrating. Because most people were just trolling you and throwing you off a cliff. But Triforce Heroes is hella fun when you play it with friends. Like, legitimately, if you just hopped on Discord and got a couple people together or called a couple friends up on your phone, like, I'm telling you, Triforce Heroes was a blast. It had some of the most unique dungeon setups ever. Some of the most unique puzzle setups ever. Some of the most unique combat scenarios with stacking characters and everyone, like, it's fantastic. Now, as Miles Dalding says, how the hell do you put Triforce Heroes above Ocarina of Time? I just enjoy it more. I have more fun playing Triforce Heroes, but the caveat is with friends than I ever did playing Ocarina of Time. Now, if you just played online with people, your experience probably wasn't very good. And I feel like that was the bugaboo, is that people troll too much in Triforce Heroes Online in 2015. But, again, my list, I don't expect anyone to agree with my list. Most people wouldn't even be able to begin to rank these games because they don't know enough about them. All 34 games. But, there we go. There's Triforce Heroes. Now, we're into what's mostly considered the big ones, right? Majora's Mask, The Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, Link's Awakening, and my little dark horse in there, The Adventure of Link. All right, so here we go. We're at number 7. All right, number 7. Twilight Princess. Great game. The single best collection of dungeons in any Zelda game. Really is. The single best collection of Zelda dungeons. It's the game with the most Zelda dungeons, and in my opinion, collectively, the best collection of Zelda dungeons in a game. The world's a little cut off too much for me. Happens. There are sections of the game that seem a little pointless. They ruin Zant. Sucks, but they do. Zant gets ruined. Zant was such a badass. He was more powerful with Ganondorf's power than Ganondorf himself. Until suddenly you were told that Ganondorf was the person behind his power, then suddenly he was a chump and a joke of a character. That alone made Twilight Princess really drop for me. Used to be in a top 5. But it really started dropping for me after they ruined what was an amazing story setup with their plot twist. Midna, fantastic character. Really enjoy Midna. But that plot twist was bad. It legitimately made the game worse, in my opinion. Sucks. Because they were doing a really hell of a good job. And then they had to It was cliche. It ruined a really good character. Just, no. Twilight Princess at 7. I can't put it any higher. Didn't even mind the wolf stuff. Didn't even mind collecting Tears of Light. People complained about that, so they made it easier, in the HD version, and they got rid of some of the tears. But I didn't even mind that stuff. It's mostly the story. They ruined it. All right. What other Zelda game falls outside of my top 5? This is tough. We're almost to the top 5 here. We're at number 6. We have left The Adventure of Link, Majora's Mask, The Wind Waker, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, and Link's Awakening. I don't want to get any hate. But next up's The Wind Waker. At number 6. So, The Wind Waker was an interesting experience. And The Wind Waker HD improved upon that experience. Heck, it even gave you like a first-person mode that was really crazy. I don't really hate The Wind Waker. It's literally my 6th favorite Zelda game ever. So we're to a point that I don't have a lot of negative things to say about these games anymore. It's just I enjoyed the other 5 more. I really love the music in the Wind Waker. I'll always remember Dragon Roost Island. It's one of my favorite dungeons ever, in like the entire Zelda series. I'll always remember that dungeon. Just superb. I love the story arc, and I will say the final boss battle is one of my favorite final boss battles in any Zelda game. It actually felt epic. It had an epicness to it that felt like a climatic conclusion to the game, versus other Zelda games that have really screwed the pooch, Breath of the Wild included. The ending for Wind Waker is mwah. Being able to go to a sunken Hyrule Castle. Mwah. You know, the very obvious plot twist that Tetra is Zelda. Mwah. Even though you could tell the whole freaking time. But there you go. That's where I'm at. That's what it is. Thank you, Smeglord655, for following over on Twitch, along with the Irish pacifist earlier, and Matt Chemio. Thank you guys so much for that. Am I being paid to make me play it? Am I being paid to make you play Adventure of Link? No one's paying me. I mean, I did have a $5 super chat earlier from you, but all right. So let me get Wind Waker off my list. Here we go. My top 5 Zelda games of all time. At number 5 is Link's Awakening. This is an interesting one. So I've had Link's Awakening flopping around between Twilight Princess, The Wind Waker, and Link's Awakening. So between 7, 6, and 5 for a while. Kind of alternating positions. Not really concrete on where I wanted to put Link's Awakening if it was going to stay in my top 5. And be the only, by the way, handheld Zelda game in my top 5. But then Nintendo had to go ahead and remake the freaking game. They had Grezzo remake it. And that remake was great. And it just solidified my position that Link's Awakening is a top 5 Zelda game. The story is great. It's all a dream, but it's a really, really great ride up until that moment that you're told it's a dream of the Windfish. It's a really, really interesting concept with all the different instruments. The different ways the game enamours you with this Mario crap everywhere. Like, what the heck is a Chain Chomp doing? Why does this character look like Mario? What the hell is Marin? Where's Zelda? But every turn, Link's Awakening surprises you with more and more good shit that you don't see coming. That's what's so great about it. Link's Awakening flipped the table and became unpredictable. And unpredictable in a way that worked. It paid off. So there we are. Link's Awakening at number 5. All right. 4 games left. Anyone need a recap? Anyone want to recap before we go on to the last 4 games? You know what? Let's get one more up. Let's get one more game on the list, and then right before we do top 3. Right before we do top 3, we'll give her nuts. Number 4. Majora's Mask. Okay. Majora's Mask is a masterpiece of a game. It really is. It's one of the darkest Zeldas ever made. Maybe the darkest, to be honest. Just in terms of the emotional roller coaster it can put you on. It has the best interconnected world in any Zelda game to date. Not even Breath of the Wild, fully open, feels as connected. Breath of the Wild feels a little disjointed sometimes. You know, every land area of the game feels like it's kind of its own area and doesn't really have anything to do with the rest. You know, like when you go to the Rito area, it doesn't really feel like the Ritos even give 2 shits about what the hell's happening with the Gorons. The Gorons don't give 2 shits about what the fuck's happening with the Zora. Like, it feels like those sections of the game are kind of independent of the rest of the whole world. That's not the case in Majora's Mask. Everything is interconnected. Everything is interconnected in that game. If you actually do all the side quests and end up getting the Fierce Deity Mask, you will see how interconnected the world is. And it's not just how interconnected it all is. It's how intricate Nintendo made the backstories of side characters. This is a game that's primarily about side characters. You literally get to play as a side character during a side quest. It is one of the only Zelda games who, while there is an overarching main story, save the world, and it's one of the few Zelda games, if you fail, you actually get to see the world get destroyed with the moon crashing in. And you have your own selfish reasons to try to get the hell out of Termina. At the end of the day, it's the only game in the whole series that's about the side characters. Learning the backstory. Every character in the game matters. Besides the guards. Unfortunately, they didn't really do much with the guards. The guards in Clocktown, they're like the NPCs that don't matter. But everyone else, every other character in the game matters. And I love Majora's Mask for it. There's freaking aliens and abducting cows in this game, too. It's awesome. All right. Let's show you the list before we get into the top 3. All right. Someone requested I go from top to bottom this time, so we'll go from top to bottom. So I got Majora's Mask. Then, whoops. Not on the right side. So Majora's Mask. Link's Awakening. The Wind Waker. Twilight Princess. Triforce Heroes. A Link Between Worlds. The Minish Cap. Spirit Tracks. Ocarina of Time. A Link to the Past. Oracle of Ages. Oracle of Seasons. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Four Swords Adventures. Hyrule Warriors. The Legend of Zelda. Cadence of Hyrule. Four Swords. Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love. Freshly picked Tingle's Rupee Land. Link's Crossbow Training. Tingle's Balloon Fight. Phantom Hourglass. Navi's Trackers. BS Ancient Stone Tablets. Wanda Gamelon. Link Faces of Evil. BS Legend of Zelda. Zelda's Adventure. Zelda Game & Watch. And Zelda Game Watch. That's the current list. We're into our top 3 now. Now, again, this is my list. All right? I didn't know how this list was going to shake out. The top 5 I knew already. But I didn't know how because I've had to answer the top 5 question a lot. But I didn't know how this whole list was going to shake out until I made it now. So this is, Tingle. There's a whole trilogy of Tingle games. They're all really good. All right, anyways. Don't expect most of you to play it. 2 of them are Japan only. Spirit Tracks above Ocarina of Time? Yeah. Always. Hey, what about the Philips CDI games? They're on there. Zelda's Adventure, Link Faces of Evil, and Wanda Gamelon. All 3 are on the list. All right. Next up is a game that is very controversial. It has made many people argue with me of late because it's being re-released this year. Of course, we're talking about Skyward Sword. That's right. Skyward Sword is my 3rd favorite Zelda game of all time. Why? To date, it has the best story of any Zelda game. Start to finish, the story does not disappoint. The plot twists do not disappoint. It is an amazing story. And it's this game that truly starts the entire Legend of Zelda. It is the game that starts the whole franchise, the whole series, the whole timeline. And it does it masterfully. Now, we got to talk about the gameplay. Most people, I don't think, appreciate the motion controls. And that's fine. To be honest, control schemes are usually not controversial, especially in Zelda games, because control schemes have mostly been the same in every Zelda game. Press a button to attack. Bring out an item. Press another button to attack. Maybe you press up and down as you go and get an upswing or a downswing. But for the most part, it's just press a button to attack, spam that button, put your shield up, block, spam the button again until you win. That's pretty much how Zelda games work. But that's not so in Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword did something that the next game on the list did even better. And it's that Skyward Sword required skill. Required actual skill. People talk about how slow paced the game is because of the combat, right? Because you got to read the opponents. The game's really not that slow if you get good. Get good, the game isn't that slow. That's the key. Skyward Sword is the first Zelda game in forever that required skill with the combat. And I loved it. Now, every area of the game, every section you go to is technically a dungeon. There's dungeon before the dungeon. I liked it. Other people don't, but I really liked it. It's ironic because the game is very restrictive and not very open at all. And when you're up flying with the loft wing up above the clouds, there really isn't that much to do. There's some side quest stuff up there, but there's really not that much to do. You're pretty much just flying to 1 of 3 zones. But it works. And it works well. And my favorite Zelda dungeon of all freaking time is in this game. Skyview Temple. Skyview Temple is freaking amazing. Being able to have a dungeon with all these puzzles, you got to get through all the rooms, which is totally normal, but then the entire dungeon itself is a side puzzle. You have to arrange the rooms in the correct way to advance forward. I freaking love it. It is such an original concept for a dungeon. I love it. So I love the combat and the skill required. I love the dungeons. I love the art style. I love the story. I even love the world building. There's some things, it's not perfect. None of the Zelda games are perfect. But I really love Skyward Sword. And you, gosh darn believe I'm buying the HD version and streaming it right here on YouTube day one. All right. Next up. No, I couldn't do it. We have The Adventure of Link. At number 2, The Adventure of Link. Now, gotta justify it, right? You can't just toss The Adventure of Link up this high and just move on. I mean, you can. I could. But I've been justifying the positioning of every single game. And The Adventure of Link feels like it's going to need the most justification. Oh, Skykeep. Yeah, sorry, I meant Skykeep. Not Skyview. Sorry. I haven't been able to play it in a while because I don't own a Wii or Wii U right now. So I haven't been able to replay Skyward Sword. That's one reason why I'm so excited to play it. But I have The Adventure of Link up here at number 2. Before Breath of the Wild came out, The Adventure of Link was my favorite Zelda game of all time for a long time. Since I played it. I didn't play it until 2000? 2001? So I didn't play it for a while. I played other Zelda games before it. But The Adventure of Link is a very interesting game. So it's an RPG. It's legitimately the only Zelda game that you can definitively say is an RPG. You can make arguments that Breath of the Wild's an RPG. You can make arguments that there's RPG elements in other games. Skyward Sword included. Item upgrades, all that jazz. But, are we buffering? Hold up. I think we were buffering for a moment. Sorry. Well, I wanted to make sure that everything's good. Okay, so the thing about The Adventure of Link that goes completely not fully understood and not fully appreciated is the reason that people don't like The Adventure of Link is the exact reason I love it. The Adventure of Link is the most difficult Zelda game, period. But why is it difficult? Combat requires skill. It's not just button smashing. You can't just button smash to victory here like you can in pretty much any Zelda game. In Twilight Princess version on Wii, just jiggle your remote to victory. The Adventure of Link requires a finite amount of skill, unlike any other Zelda game before it. Because believe it or not, the combat system is extremely complex for a game of its era. It's extremely complex. Not only is there full magic spells, by the way, which don't exist in most Zelda games. Ocarina of Time, I know, had a few, but not to the level of Zelda 2. Zelda 2 had a ton of magic abilities that you had to manage and micromanage, just like an RPG. It had a ton of actual combat abilities, from swinging low to swinging high to the jump hit to actual down stabs. You know, like the move that we all use in Smash Bros. All the time. It has a ton of great Zelda music, and it actually has a really cool story. So, before Skyward Sword came out, The Adventure of Link was the defining story for The Legend of Zelda. It is why the series was called The Legend of Zelda. The actual story that led to the franchise being called The Legend of Zelda came from A Link to the Past, came from The Adventure of Link. Granted, you had to read it in a manual, because that's just the way they did stories back then. And that is a critique I have, is that you don't get the story in the game. You get it through the manual. That's one of the things I do hold against it, because I prefer my story to actually be in the game, not to be something I got to read about in a pamphlet. But I give it kind of a pass for the era it came out in for that. Maybe I shouldn't give it a pass for that, but I do, because the story technically still exists, even if you pretty much know most of it. It's also the only game where Link and Zelda kiss. We all know what happens when that curtain drops. Don't sit there and pretend that Link did not get a kiss from Zelda. It happened. It happened in this game. The end of this game, that curtain drops. Their feet are shown. And they interlock. Get the hell out of here. They kiss. Link gets the prize that we try to get in every single game, and that's to end up with Zelda at the end. And it happens in Zelda 2. So it has the ending I want. Dark Link, by the way, might not seem like a big deal to you guys, right? We had Dark Link in Ocarina of Time and whatever. He originated in this game. The Shadow of Link is the final boss in this game. He originated in this game. That idea, that concept came from this game. So the point I'm trying to make here is I love games to a point, not as much as I used to, but to a point that require a finite amount of skill in the combat. And Zelda games typically don't offer that, except for Skyward Sword. And, to a greater degree, The Adventure of Link. Add in the founding story, add in the world building, add in the banger music. I really enjoyed it. It was an RPG Zelda game. And we haven't had one since, and we're probably never going to get one again. Because it just didn't sell very well. But I wish we would. This is the one game I want Nintendo to remake. They're going to make it easier. I just know it. But this is the game I want Nintendo to remake so people can learn to appreciate what Zelda 2 did for this franchise. All right. Number one game. Only game left. No shocker to anyone who knows me. It's Breath of the Wild. The thing is, I have a lot of critiques for Breath of the Wild. The dungeons aren't very good. The final encounter is a massive letdown. It's just not good. It's the worst final encounter in Zelda. I can't think of a final encounter that's worse than the final phase in Breath of the Wild. It sucks. There's also a lack of boss variety. Sucks. Lack of dungeon variety. The puzzles are clever. The divine beasts are neat. But the divine beasts feel like mini dungeons. They don't really feel like full dungeons to me. And I know the mini dungeons are supposed to be the shrines, but they don't really feel like it. The shrines kind of feel like a reward for exploration. So the shrines don't feel like mini dungeons. They feel like a reward for exploration. Whereas the actual dungeons kind of feel repetitive. The boss fights feel repetitive. And then the final phase boss fight sucks. So I have a bunch of critique for Breath of the Wild. But then there's so much I love. So what Breath of the Wild did for me, and I played a lot of open world games. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because it's Zelda. Maybe it's my bias. Take a little drink here. Breath of the Wild made me fall in love with it just in the opening area of the game. That freedom of exploration, that first time you climb something, the first time you take advantage of the physics engine, the first time you do something crazy that's only possible in Breath of the Wild. When you fire that fire arrow at the ground and you open your parasail and you fly up in the air and then you soar around and down thrust someone as your physics set off a timed bomb to hit a boulder down a cliff to take out some other enemies. The crazy crap you can do in this game. The being able to take a minecart and fly it around using the magnesis ability. Like, there is so much crazy crap in Breath of the Wild. It is such a free and open experience. There is so much lore in this game. Breath of the Wild, while not technically officially confirmed by Nintendo, seems to be a game that occurs after the timelines remerge together. And there are so many nostalgic references, so much lore and history, especially if you go to the Zora area on those tablets, those stone tablets. There's so much lore, so deep. Breath of the Wild is a very deep game. Breath of the Wild is maybe the only Zelda game that really rewards you for exploring. It'll reward you with a shrine. It'll reward you with maybe a Korok, which I could take or leave the Korok stuff. But it'll reward you with one of those two things. It'll reward you with a beautiful landscape. Sometimes it'll reward you with discovering a Lionel and early on getting your ass kicked as you don't know how to beat them. Or it might reward you with a very interesting piece of history for the game. Because the one critique people have for Breath of the Wild is that it doesn't have much of a story. You know, it's got those cutscenes, they're spread out, but they're all about the past. There's no current story going on. But there is. You just have to discover it. And in a way, I appreciate that about this game. Breath of the Wild, to me, is the pinnacle of exploration. You want more lore? Explore and find it. You want, more action? Explore and find it. You want more shrines? Explore and find it. This game is the number one exploration game in the series. Now, some people might mention, well, Zelda 1, obviously. Zelda 1 was the only other, in my opinion, fully open world Zelda game. Okay? The Wind Waker came close, but it really sectioned you off for a little while before it opened the world. It eventually opens it up, but you've already beaten like half the game by the time it opens it all up to you. Zelda 1 and Breath of the Wild are the two truly open world games basically from the word go. Zelda 1 technically the only one from the word go, because in Breath of the Wild you got to complete the first 4 shrines before it opens everything up. But in Zelda 1, there just wasn't that much to discover. Yeah, you could discover, a little rupee game. You could discover a chest here and there. But to find the stuff was mostly dumb luck. You set bombs on the same looking rock formation over and over again until one of them opens up. You set fire to the same amount of trees until one of them lights up fire and opens a pathway. It's not really rewarding you for exploring. It's rewarding you for being lucky that you lit the right thing on fire or bombed the right face of the rock. It's not really encouraging you to explore. There's no real reward for exploration in the game. It's just blow up a hole or light a tree on fire and hope you light the right one and hope you blow up the right rock. There really isn't much exploration beyond that except for discovering the dungeons. So Zelda 1's exploration feels panned. Now, to be completely fair, it's a game that came out in 1985. At the time, it's pretty much the best open world game in the market. There wasn't a single open world game I can think of back in 1985 that was better than Legend of Zelda. So for the time period, for the limitations, amazing. Yeah, you need to discover the map. Thorough, not lucky. Well, that's what I'm saying, though. Think about it. There's nothing that makes you want to blow up the rock face. If you didn't know there were hidden areas, Is there anything that happens in the game that makes you want to blow up the rock? Is there anything that makes you want to try to light every single tree on fire? There's nothing that makes you want to do it except knowing that there's hidden things. If you didn't know there were hidden things, you would have no reason to do it. The game doesn't, Zelda 1 doesn't encourage you to do these things. In fact, when it first came out, people weren't doing it until they read the guides. I don't know if it was the first open world game. It is one of the earliest ones, but I'm not sure if it's the first open world game. But again, I'm not holding that against The Legend of Zelda. For the time, great. It's just Breath of the Wild's exploration is better. Breath of the Wild's exploration is better. You see a hill, you want to go over it. You see a cliff, you want to get to the top. You see something that looks different, you want to go over there and know why. When you go screen to screen, there might be a river. There might be a graveyard. There might be some trees. There might be some rocks. There's nothing in the game that makes you think, I want to know why. And that's because it's a game that came out in 1985. Breath of the Wild's exploration to me is on a whole new level. And yeah, I know the manual says there's hidden items. Relax. Let's just say, as much as I appreciate manuals, I didn't really read them when I was a kid. I didn't read manuals until the 2000s, which is ironically when I played the Adventure of Link, and then I read the manual for that. I didn't read manuals when I was younger than that. Breath of the Wild's easy, no danger. Alright. Well, Dark Charizard. Play Master Mode. Don't upgrade your hearts. Oh. And not only don't upgrade your hearts, once you're done and you unlocked your 4 abilities, just go straight to Ganon. Have fun. Breath of the Wild gets as easy as you make it or as difficult as you make it. The more you do in Breath of the Wild, the easier the game gets. That's how it should be. The stronger your character gets, the easier the game should be. Or, Breath of the Wild gives you the freedom to make the game as difficult as you want it to be. There is nothing that happens in Breath of the Wild that makes it easier except by your own choices. Breath of the Wild can be as difficult or as easy as you want it to be. Like, that's what's nice about Breath of the Wild. It's a freedom of choice. And that's what I love. It has the best exploration in maybe any game I've ever played. Not always the best payoffs for that exploration, mind you. But the pure joy of exploration really came through for me in that game, and that's why it's at number 1. I just enjoy that. I enjoy Breath of the Wild's exploration that much. Anyways, yeah, I know. Just don't take the sword in Zelda 1. Knew someone was going to say that because you can technically beat the game, I think, without the sword. I've never done it, but I'm pretty sure you can beat the game technically without the sword. I think. I can't think of anything in particular that technically you have to have the sword for to do that. But who doesn't take the sword? That's like saying, well, in Breath of the Wild, just like glitch the game and get off the starting area without the 4 abilities. I mean, yeah, you can do it, but who is? Besides like a speedrunner who's just trying to say screw it and glitch through. All right, anyways, that's my list. Let's look at the full thing one time. I don't think I've done that yet. It's like a Breath of the Wild at the top, The Adventure of Link, Skyward Sword, Majora's Mask, and Link's Awakening. To me, excellent top 5. You guys might completely disagree, and that's fine. We got Wind Waker, then Twilight Princess, then Triforce Heroes, A Link Between Worlds, Minish Cap, Spirit Tracks, Ocarina of Time, A Link to the Past, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, Four Swords Adventures, Hyrule Warriors, Legend of Zelda, Cadence of Hyrule, Four Swords, Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love, Freshly Picked Tingle's Rupee Land, Link's Crossbow Trading, Tingle's Balloon Fight, Phantom Hourglass, Navi's Trackers, BS Ancient Stone Tablets, Wanda Gamelon, Link Faces of Evil, BS Legend of Zelda, Zelda's Adventure, Zelda Game & Watch, and Zelda Game & Watch. That's my complete list. Took us a while to get there, didn't it? 2 hours? Roughly 2 hours? A lot of work. So, I don't expect you guys to go and rank all 34 games. But in the chat, I want to know your guys' top 5 Zelda games. I went 2 hours. I went 2 hours to get 34 games ranked. I want to know your guys' top 5. I'm just curious. What's your top 5 Zelda games? I feel like it's a fair ask after doing this for, 2 hours. Flip do Spirit Tracks. Ocarina of Time. Not surprised to see some an OOT at top. I know it's a favorite for a lot of people. Great soundtrack. Zebras plays as Link's Awakening at 5 like I do. Nice. Hey, so your top 2 is Breath of the Wild and Ocarina of Time. Sounds good. Too much variety. Miles Dolden has Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, TP, Wind Waker, and LA. Nice. See, that's the kind of top 5 I expect, except some people bumping off LA and maybe putting like a Link to the Past in or something. Too hard to choose. Breath of the Wild, A Link Between Worlds, Link's Awakening, Ocarina of Time, Skyward Sword. All right. Nice to see some Link Between Worlds love up in there. Minish Cap, Phantom Hourglass, Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past. What's the first one? Is that Wind Waker? I think that's what you meant. Maybe. I don't know what TWP is. All the games have been rated Duck Grow, including Four Swords. Majora's Mask 3D. That's it. That's all that matters. Spirit Tracks at 1. Majora's Mask at 2. Skyward Sword at 3. Breath of the Wild at 4. And Link's Awakening at 5. Man, Flip, do you really love Spirit Tracks? I thought I ranked Spirit Tracks relatively high. That's definitely the highest I've ever seen. I've never seen anyone put it at number 1. J-Lo, Spirit Tracks, that's it. I've never seen anyone put Spirit Tracks at number 1 before. I've had it float into my top 5 for a brief period of time. Back when I was all hyped on it, but I've never actually had it at number 1. Breath of the Wild spreads a rumor that Minish Cap is a groomer. Then Minish Cap then loses 100k subs to Majora, and Twilight laugh at Minish, who lost a lot of subs, and Wind Waker exposes both Twilight and Majora. That's funny. That's a good way to talk about your top 5 Nacho Cheesecake. Ralder has Breath of the Wild 1, Skyward Sword 2, Majora's Mask 3, Twilight Princess 4, and A Link to the Past 5. See, that's like a more traditional top 5 that I expect to see. Except Ocarina of Time swapped in for A Link to the Past. I feel like most people would put all the 3D Zeldas in the top 5, basically. Yeah, top 5 would probably just be the 3D Zeldas. There we go. And the 6 games now. I have to kick one out. Ocarina. Nice. Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time, Link Between Worlds, Wind Waker, and TP says Slain Red. All right. Link's Crossbow. Someone put an LCT in the top 5. I don't know if he's joking or not. Because I see him put in Twilight Princess Picross, which I suppose I forgot about Picross. Do I have to redo my whole list now because I forgot about Picross? I totally forgot about that game. Damn, how did I forget about Twilight Princess Picross? I'm actually disappointed in myself for forgetting that game existed. Damn it. So there's 35 games. I got to go back and alter my whole list. Fuck. I'm not going to. It took 2 hours to get here. I'm not going to have a 30-minute debate on where I'm slotting in freaking Twilight Princess Picross. It won't be at the bottom, I can tell you that. So it's not last. Forgot about Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages. Dude, a lot of people do. So at some point, I don't know when, maybe on the next-gen Switch or next-gen platform, I want to see Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages get remakes because I think people forget those games exist and forget how good they are. I think they're the most underappreciated Zelda games out there. It's like people just forget they're even a thing. And they're so good. 35 to the 35th. There it is. Technically, that's 35 Zelda games. Holy shit. That's a lot of Zelda games, guys. 35 years, 35 games. Holy shit. Mind blown. I wasn't even thinking about that when I was doing 34. I was like, man, that's almost 35 games. I didn't even think about that. What the heck is TWP? Am I stupid? What the fuck is TWP? Is it Twilight Princess? I thought we just universally called it TP. Why are we putting a W in there? Is that what people mean with TWP? They mean Twilight Princess? Why do we have the W though? We don't use multiple letters like that in one word because none of these other games have the same abbreviations. It's one thing Nintendo's done successfully is not giving us the same abbreviations. I don't know. I just used TWP. Okay. You're not the only one. There was like one other person that did it. 1 4 Sword Adventures, 2 Breath of the Wild, 3 LA. 4 Swords Adventures at 1, huh? Nice, man. I had a good time with 4 Swords Adventures. Spirit Tracks does have a great story and great music. Dude, the music in the final boss, oh my god. I'm playing it right now. I don't even care. It's on my channel even. Final boss fight, flute, music, Spirit Tracks. When you gotta play and all the guys come together, god. I'm gonna play the version that's on my channel. No. There it is. Wait. Yeah, it's a locomotive. Hold on. I'll just type Nintendo Prime. I would have typed Zelda Informer, but it's not. Yeah, final boss. Is it phase 1 it happens in? No, not phase. It doesn't happen in phase 1. Hold on. God dang it. Where is it? There it is. Got it. Here we go. Gotta play it. It's a banger. Just listen to this banger song. Just hold on. Just get ready. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Just wait for it. Just out of nowhere. The beat's about to drop. Just get ready. I gotta make this like the ending music. And there's like a story reason behind all these instruments. That's a banger song, guys. Seriously. Oh, it's so banger. And there's a story reason behind each of the instruments and each of the characters during the scene. Oh, it's so good. The scene and the music blend. Oh my god. Banger. Oh, I never heard that. So yeah, so it starts off slow because there's a gameplay session going on where you're playing the flute. And so that's why it starts off kind of slow. And then once you complete your flute part, it just takes off. It's like the ultimate song payoff for all the flute songs you ever did in that game. Are you going to be playing Bravely Default 2? I'm not sure yet. I didn't really play the first Bravely Default on 3DS. And this one comes out, what, soon, right? Bravely Default 2, is it out now? I don't even know. What's the release date? Oh, February 26th. So it comes out this week. I don't know. Excuse me. I'm just being honest. I'm not sure. Now it's just impossible. It's never impossible. Oh, Lost Woods, dude. Ocarina of Time has a lot of memorable music, man. Lost Woods. The Gerudo theme. Man, you gotta play that final fight song. It's epic. It's the best Zelda lullaby integration, which leads into an epic dark song. Oh, dude. Don't man. Don't get me started, man. We're gonna start going down a Zelda music hole that we're never gonna get out of, and we'll just be here for the next 82 hours listening to different Zelda music, especially Spirit Tracks. Has such an amazing soundtrack. There's even a couple banger songs in Breath of the Wild. The problem that Breath of the Wild has with its music isn't it's perfect for what the game is. But even the banger songs it has, it doesn't have that specific melody that you feel like you could write song lyrics to. And that's what works so well in other memorable Zelda music is there's always that really specific melody that just feels like, hey, I could write lyrics to this and make it into a song. Into a singing song. I love the Skyloft remix in Hyrule Warriors. Yeah, Hyrule Warriors has some nice remixes in it. Oh, the Burns. Oh, yeah. Dude, Spirit Tracks has a great soundtrack. But, the game's kind of built around music, so it's not, too surprising once you play the game why it has such good music. I really have so many reasons as to why Spirit Tracks is the best Zelda game, and if anyone here hasn't played it, really go. Dude, it's great. It's great. Honestly, I want every Zelda game to be playable on Switch. I really do. Even though I know I'm not going to replay them all, just having that ability to tell people, hey, dude, just go on that NES app, go on that Game Boy app, go on whatever thing Nintendo did to deliver the game and just try it. Now I can tell people, hey, look. You don't own a Wii or Wii U, you can try Skyward Sword now. Maybe you don't want to spend $60 or whatever. Fine, rent it off GameFly. I don't give a shit. Give it a try. Borrow it from a friend. Patricio Gonzalez hits me with the $5. Says, how's it going? How's it going? It's going all right. How about you? It's going all right. Let's get another shot of rum chata in here. God, I want to get to the hard stuff. I should probably start doing some Jaeger. Because I'm going to be ending this stream probably in the next half hour to 40 minutes. I just need to shot it up. But cheers. Cheers through all the years. Let's drink some beer. Don't have any beer on me, actually. Sorry, I'm just looking at my accounts here. Yeah, well. I'm trying this baby stuff and false advertising. Fine. Jeez. Baby. Call me a baby. Don't call me such a baby. Fine. I'll do something better. Jesus. I'll give myself a little cap shot of Jaeger. I got this giant bottle of Jaeger. I don't even know what is this. A 1 liter? 1 liter bottle. So I'll do a little cap. I'll do a little cappy shot for completing that list. This is my reward to myself for completing the list. Oh my God, Stan needs to never I think Stan's just trying to get banned. There was never a promise in that last stream that everyone was getting an eShop code. It said there will be free eShop codes. It didn't say free eShop codes for everyone. And I gave away 2 codes, so. He's just trolling. Ho-ho! Haven't done Jaeger in a while. Now, Jaeger, that just hits different. If you guys have ever had booze and then you have Jaeger, it just hits you different. I'm talking about God in this industry. I don't think Nintendo's a god. They're just a company like anything else, for-profit business. They just are really good at being a for-profit business. I did not promise in the thumbnail. The thumbnail simply said free eShop codes. It did not say free eShop codes for everybody. It just said free eShop codes. I have the thumbnail right here. It does not say everybody gets an eShop code. It just said there is free eShop codes. There's no guarantee that you are getting one. Anyways. What's the list so far? The list is complete. The list is complete. What's up, Chris? Chris Kurosaki, thank you so much for becoming a member. What? Yesterday, I think? Or was it today? Maybe it was yesterday. Thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate it. I wish more of you guys would want to become members. Get that member gang up. Heck, how many members do we have? Does it even tell me? Hold on. I have this thing I can add where I can add, like, member goal. We do not have that many. Oh, it's a sample goal. Yeah, we do not have that many. Holy crud. That is not accurate at all. That member goal, that is not accurate at all. I think we have like 6, not 36. So the member goal on here, you have to update manually. That's lame. People want to see the list real quick? You can guess my list? Good luck at that. Good luck at that. I'm scamming people. Stanley's always claiming I'm scamming people. I'm not even giving away anything right now. I did what I said I was going to do. I ranked every single Zelda game. Here is the list. So we got Breath of the Wild at 1. The Adventure of Link, Skyward Sword, Majora's Mask, Link's Awakening, The Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Triforce Heroes, A Link Between Worlds, Minish Cap, Spirit Tracks, Ocarina of Time, A Link to the Past, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, Four Swords Adventures, Hyrule Warriors, Legend of Zelda, Cadence of Hyrule, Four Swords, Tingle's Balloon Triple Love, Freshly Picked Tingle's Ruby Land, Link's Crossbow Training, Tingle's Balloon Fight, Phantom Hourglass, Navi's Trackers, BS Ancient Stone Tablets, Wand of Gamelon, Link's Faces of Evil, BS Zelda, Zelda's Adventure, Zelda Game & Watch, and Zelda Game & Watch. Good luck guessing all 34 games. Technically, I forgot about Twilight Princess Picross. I'd probably put that like probably right under Phantom Hourglass, but ahead of Navi's Trackers. I'd probably put Twilight Princess Picross if I added it to the list. Fuck, let's just add it to the list. Whatever. You know, I'm already here. Let's complete it. So we have 35 games for 35 years of Zelda. 35 games for 35 years of Zelda, guys. Whew. I should paste that on the description. I'm going to put it in the pinned comment after the stream's over. I'm going to put it in the pinned comment. Hey, we had a bunch of new people subscribe all at once. Holy crap. 4 people. The Alcabone, Kayla McDonald, Daniel Eckenrod, and Matthew Garcia. Thank you, guys. Holy crap. Whoa. Whoa. What is happening right now? Okay, I'm starting to feel like someone's bodying my channel. Is someone bodying my channel right now? We did get a lot of new subscribers today. We did get a lot of new subscribers today. What is going on? Is it adding every new subscriber I got today? I did get like 500 new subs today. Yeah. I think it's just just I don't think it's bots. I think what Streamlabs is doing is it's finally catching up. Cuz I've had Streamlabs open all day and it's finally catching up. So today I gained yeah, I'm 4 subscribers away from gaining 500. I think what happened is Streamlabs is trying to catch up on all of the subs today. Because I'm watching my subs in real time on the back end, and all these people weren't getting added. They were already there. So yeah, Streamlabs was just catching up on old subs. Because we're at 63,696. Who knows? Maybe we'll end up at 64 by the time I wake up tomorrow. We had a video blow up today. So, happens. Had our first viral video since September. All right, Stan. I feel like you've been wanting to get banned, so goodbye. I feel no guilt in banning Stan Easter right now. I mean, he's just been relentless. How did I unhide him? Did I click it twice? Oh, I clicked undo. Sorry. There we go. He's gone. He's gone. Just hold on. J-Lo and me hit him. Goodbye, Stan. Goodbye. No one's on Stan. I mean, literally, there's 2 winners last time. They got. I'm not giving away anything this stream. I already did it earlier this stream. I did 2 eShop codes. F for Stan. F in the chat for Stan. Oh man, is there anyone else streaming right now? Oh, Review Tech USA is streaming. Anyone else streaming? No, that's the only person I subscribe to the streaming right now. $2. Would you be down to collab on a giveaway? Well, it depends on what you're talking about for a collab. What do you want to collaborate for? Like, are we talking like pooling money together, or you funding something and like I push it? What are we? Cheers. What are we talking about? I mean, I already do monthly giveaways. I got that $99 eShop gift card giveaway going on right now. The only reason I even have that one going is because I ended... Well, I didn't end it early. I ended it when I said I would. But I did it on purpose so people could have it in time. J-Lo! Thank you so much, J-Lo, for the $10. Says, gotta head out. Have a good night. Thanks, J-Lo. I appreciate you being around. I know you've been here for a little bit. And thank you for helping me stop Stan. Because for some reason, every time I banned Stan, it would undo him. I don't know what was up with that. Maybe I was double-clicking or something. So thanks for that. I'll give you a shot of Yag here on the way out. Get my chaser ready. Gotta be honest. It wasn't very good. Alright. What did it say? Because you didn't rank them, you only showed the games you were ranking? No, this is my ranking. This is my ranking. This is it. This is my ranking. This is from 1 to 35. This is my ranking of Zelda games. This is it. This is my literal ranking of all 35 Zelda games. This is the ranking. Right on screen. This is my ranking of all 35 Zelda games. 35 Zelda games for 35 years. Thank you for the person that reminded me of Twilight Princess Picross right at the end. I know they were reminding me as a joke, but... And I explained my game. Did I not? Did I not? For all... Twilight Princess Picross is probably the one I didn't really talk much about. But guys, did I not go into detail on the 34 games I ranked today? Did I not go into detail? I literally went, I feel like, into pretty damn fine detail for each game and why it was ranked where it was. I mean, I remember at one point there was someone, I forget who it was in the chat, that said, man, you really know your shit. I'm like, people might not realize this. I used to run Zelda fan sites for 20 years. I was the person that took Zelda Informer from nothing into a website that got millions of views a month. It doesn't exist anymore. It was bought out by Zelda Dungeon, and then he merged or deleted the site. I don't know what the hell he did with it, to be honest. I'm kind of sour about the whole thing, the whole experience. I got really screwed. Anyways, ran Zelda Domain before that. I worked at Zelda Universe for a while. I've been around the Zelda community a hell of a long time. That's why I know like Game Over Jesse. Knew him from Zelda websites, not from YouTube, even though he's a relatively popular YouTuber. But a lot of the popular Zelda YouTubers out there, like Commonwealth Realm, Zeltic, I was covering their video content at Zelda Informer when they had like 50 subscribers. Like, I helped boost their channels. And they probably don't even realize it was me. Because maybe if they did, they'd help a brother out and help me out. But I don't think they realize I was the person at Zelda Informer boosting their channels and their Zelda theories. All right, so Chris Kurosaki says, I'd send in money for a product, okay, and we give both our communities a chance at winning. I want to do one once I reach 200 subs. I understand if you don't feel... Oh, so you want to be like... So what you want to do is... Like, I use that Viral Sweep app right now. So what you want to basically do is you want to co-sponsor a giveaway. But basically, you want to pay for the giveaway. We both advertise the giveaway. And the advantage for me is that my community gets a chance at a product that might not get otherwise. And I don't have to pay for it. The benefit for you is that you're going to end up getting a lot of growth for your channel, because your channel is going to be included in the Viral Sweep where people can go subscribe to your channel, and your channel is going to grow, and other social media is going to grow. Like, you talk about 200 subs. To give you an idea on Viral Sweep, for my current giveaway, where is it? Let me log in. Because I haven't looked at this in a while. Currently, let's see. Man, that's a lot of entries. Jesus. So currently there are 2,548 unique people who have entered, and through all the bonus entries, they have 23,549 bonus entries. So if you think about that, that's potentially 2,548 people in the next giveaway that could subscribe to your channel. Potentially. So I kind of see what you're doing. Like, basically, you want to pay to include me in a giveaway that's going to grow your channel. I understand that. We'd have to talk in more detail. I'd have to see the content you make to know if I want to promote your channel. No offense, Chris. I don't know you. I don't know the content you make. I need to make sure that I'm not promoting my fan base to, subscribe to someone that I don't think is worth subscribing to. I'm not trying to be mean. I literally don't know the content you make. I know you're a member on my channel and everything. I just don't want people to think they can start buying subscribers from me. You know what I mean? But we can talk. I mean, you start telling me, hey, I want to buy the community a PlayStation 5. Well, shit. What am I going to do? Tell my community no? But I don't think you're talking about going that crazy. That'd be insane if you were doing that. Zelda Domain was a great site. Holy shit. Somebody knows Zelda Domain. So the funny thing, I wonder if you really know Zelda Domain, Dark Charizard. The reason I mention it is you mentioned 2007. Zelda Domain didn't exist in 2007. Zelda Domain closed in 2006. I know, it was my baby. Started in 1998, closed in 2006. In 2007, I was messing around with a potential new site called Absolute Zelda. We never really got off the ground, but we made a lot of really good development progress on it, to be honest. It was a really neat website. And then I was approached by the owner of Zelda Informer to run Zelda Informer at the beginning of 2008. And then I joined in 2008. And then I ran Zelda Informer all the way up until 2017. April of 2017. It's almost a decade. But yeah, Zelda Informer or Zelda Domain didn't exist in 2007. Still gotta get your channel on the right track. Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know what your channel. I don't want to set a precedent that people can just pay me basically. I mean, they're not. They're giving away something, but it's basically like paying for subs. And again, your channel might totally be worthwhile. I don't know. I haven't watched any of your stuff yet. Maybe your channel might be better than mine. Channel's quality isn't based on the number of subscribers you have. You're a mobile boy? Well, you make all your videos with your phone? Nothing wrong with that. I've seen people make videos with their phone better than what I make, so. You mean like you play mobile games? What's wrong with that? I don't care if someone plays like PUBG Mobile and stuff, and that's like your thing. Like, go right ahead. Go play PUBG Mobile. God. Why not? I see you got 208 videos. Nice. I'd have to watch. Nothing wrong with PUBG Mobile, man. You get about the kind of views I expected, anywhere from 6 to sometimes 20. Not too shabby. Gotta start somewhere. How do we get new audio equipment bar to go up? New audio equipment. Donation link down in the description. I didn't even know what you were talking about for a minute. So there's a Streamlabs donation link down in the description. If you donate to that's how this goes up. Super chats don't make that go up. Only donations through Streamlabs does that. So you got to donate money through the Streamlabs donation link in the description below my video. You make most of your videos with your phone because you lost your camera. There's nothing wrong with that, man. I still, to this day, occasionally make videos with my phone. There's nothing wrong with it. Phones have really great cameras, too. Like, I feel like I should go to bed soon. Maybe that's the booze. The booze hitting me. Man. So Jason Schreier put up a part of an interview he did with Eiji Aono in honor of the 35th anniversary of Zelda. And here's what was said. So Schreier says, there's been a lot of conversation here in America about overtime hours. So crunch and all that, the hours it takes to get games like this out the door. Talking about Breath of the Wild. What's your team's stance on overtime? Eiji Aono says, when creating a game development is all about the people. So if one of them or any of them aren't well, that definitely affects the game and overall quality, and that's just not good. We always try to think flexibly about delivery dates, and in the past, I've apologized for delays. That's because staff comes first, and I always want to think about it when creating a game. Schreier says, did you work long periods of overtime for games like Breath of the Wild? Eiji Aono responds, overall, as a Nintendo work culture, we focus on flexibility. And so even the staff have that flexibility of when to focus and when to use their energy on something, or if they have a little bit of leeway in their work schedule. Don't have to exert themselves so much. They can maintain that balance themselves, especially for Breath of the Wild. It was the same when we focused on the staff. We didn't have anybody be exerted or anything like that, and I think we were able to achieve our goal. So what Eiji Aono is basically saying there is, you don't have to crunch to make one of the best games of all time. You just need a company that's willing to give you the flexibility to care about your staff. That's all. All the companies that get in trouble for crunch aren't companies that are about to go out of business if they delay games. Oh, they got investors to worry about that. So does Nintendo. But the investors don't make the call. So you can tell investors to shove it. What audio equipment am I aiming to get? I need a... Well, I don't need. It's more like it really makes the podcast better. I'm trying to get a Focusrite Gen 3 2i2. What it basically means is it is... I don't know if I can hold this up. No, I can't. It'll disconnect. So... Did it just disconnect? I really hope it didn't disconnect. No, it just refreshed. Okay. So, the Focusrite that I have blocks out Basically, I have a giant power line in my backyard, one of those giant metal poles with power lines that are like this thick. And I get a lot of electrical interference in my house. So I need a audio interface that is shielded from electrical interference. And the Focusrite's are. So the Focusrite Scarlets are. So it's a Focusrite Scarlet Gen 3 2i2, which means two 48-volt power lines, microphones, 2 microphone inputs, all that jazz. Right now, I have a single microphone input, which is why on the podcast, Eric and I share a mic. And we want to have 2. Now, I used to have 2 mics, but I was using a Behringer mixer. Nothing wrong with the Behringer mixer. It just doesn't block out the electrical interference, and the audio editing software was unable to get rid of the electrical interference well enough. So I technically have a mixer that I can put 4 mics in. Unfortunately, it gets really effed up because of the power line. So I am looking to get a Focusrite that lets me put 2 mics in. And Pat hits us with a $10 dono. See it up there. We're on up to 35. Thank you so much, Pat. He says, do you remember Oracle of Seasons Ages comic books? Yes. God, I haven't talked about those in forever. All the manga and stuff. You guys remember that stuff? There's so much of it out there. There's entire collector's boxes of it. You can get a whole bunch. Yeah, dude, I remember. God, wasn't one of the authors Akira? Oh God, I can't remember now. There was a few authors and artists behind different Zelda series anime stuff. Cheers. Thanks so much. Yeah, I don't know what Behringer's been doing recently. I have a good Behringer mixer. I'm only holding on to it in case we move one day and I don't have the electrical interference anymore. Then I can use it again. But I'll use it for a different setup, you know. But I want to get the right equipment in here so I have the electrical interference taken care of for 2 mics. I tried daisy chaining them, so I tried running my mics through that and then into the Focusrite. They don't daisy chain, so sometimes you can make that work, but a lot of times it doesn't work. Excuse me, princess. I just got done watching your Zelda 35th anniversary talk. Speculation of the game or games that Grezzo can be working on could possibly be a 3D remake of Oracle games. Could be. So Grezzo is the people who brought Miitopia to Switch this summer. So they HD'd a 3DS game, which really makes me think Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask HD are happening. Because they just did it to Miitopia, and they are the ones that created Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask 3D. So I'm very confident that we're getting those 2, for sure, from Grezzo. Beyond that, who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? Man, that Zelda 35th rumor thing is really blowing up. Way bigger. Way bigger than I expected. Sorry, I was texting my fiance. What was my top 5 Zelda games before? Before what? All I hear is breathing. Yeah, I was texting my yeah, I got a Discord server. I'll drop a link here. I'll drop a link here. There's a link to the Discord server. If you want to get in on the private channels that I respond to people more often, then you want to become a YouTube member or a Patreon member. But I don't really push the memberships more. I probably should. I don't know why I don't bring them up more often, because I would love people to support me on Patreon or become YouTube members. If you had to live your life with a low heart beeper or fee, which would you choose? It's like the same. Isn't it like the same thing? And maybe that's the point. The batteries in your Wii remote are low. Oh, you want to know when ST was in my top 5? That was pre-Breath of the Wild. So, let me grab the list. So it was pre-Breath of the Wild. So the top 5. This was probably back in, God, maybe the month after Spirit Tracks came out. So it was the Adventure of Link. Hold on. When did Spirit Tracks come out? I gotta glance it quick. So Skyward Sword I know wasn't out yet. Okay, that's why I had to double check. So Skyward Sword wasn't on the list. Breath of the Wild wasn't on the list. And Link Between Worlds wasn't out yet. Triforce Heroes wasn't out yet. So that leaves you with The Adventure of Link, Majora's Mask, Link's Awakening, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Minish Cap, and then Spirit Tracks. But back then, I was really hyped about Spirit Tracks. So what happened was, it was The Adventure of Link, Majora's Mask, Link's Awakening, Spirit Tracks, then Wind Waker was what it used to be back in those days when I was just fresh off of playing the game for my first time. Yeah, I hope they change that in the HD version, where every time you boot up the game, it doesn't have to remind you what every single item in the game is. I get that sometimes it's helpful, but for the most part, we don't need to know what a green rupee, what a blue rupee, what a red rupee is, what a gold rupee is, purple. We don't need to be reminded every time. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You know, that's just the way they did it back then, and I hope they update it, but I don't expect them to. I would like it. It would be a nice quality of life improvement for them to do it. So it would be nice. I just know Nintendo, and I don't expect it. I wish I could be wrong on that. I wish I could expect it, to be honest, but you can't. So what are you gonna do? Oh, man, Giannis dropped 38 points tonight. 18 rebounds, 38 points. That's what I'm talking about. He has 6 turnovers. The guy's got to cut those turnovers down, but the guy got 38 points. Yeah. What are you going to complain about with 38 dropped on your head? So I was looking at, I play in 2 fantasy NBA basketball leagues, so one of them I lost this week. The other one I won pretty easily. I'm just glancing. Today's the final day of the week, so I like looking at the final scores. Yeah, Kemba Walker didn't do much today. Damn. But I got 30 from Al Horford, 43 from Kyrie Irving, 25 from Dante. Nice. All right. Anyways, back to the stream. Do you think Breath of the Wild 2 will be a more polished Breath of the Wild or include revolutionary? I don't think... Okay. So when we talk about revolutionary new things, they're not going to, like, flip the script like Breath of the Wild did. So you could say that means they're going to polish Breath of the Wild. But I think what they're going to do is they're going to take things that people loved about Zelda from before and bring it back. So I think in Breath of the Wild 2, we're going to get massive dungeons. Does that mean it's a more polished Breath of the Wild, or does that mean they're taking what made Breath of the Wild great and adding to it? I think that's more like what we're going to get. So here's what made Breath of the Wild great, and now we're going to add to it instead of polishing what's there. Will there be some polish on what's there? Duh. But that would exist either way, since it uses at least part of the same Hyrule. I don't know if we are going to be in entirely the same Hyrule, an expanded Hyrule, just part of that Hyrule. I have no idea. Only Nintendo knows. because we've only really seen gameplay. It wasn't even gameplay. We saw basically a cutscene that looked like it was under Hyrule Castle, and then we saw a cutscene of Hyrule Castle either collapsing or about to shoot up in the air. And that's really it. We haven't really seen gameplay of any type anywhere to really make any sort of concrete conclusions on if we even play in the same Hyrule. Maybe we end up going through some freaking time warp and end up somewhere else. I have no idea. How many dungeons? Well, what's the most dungeons we've had in a game? 9? 11? Twilight Princess, I think, has the record for the most dungeons, doesn't it? How many dungeons are in Twilight Princess? 9. And I think that's the most dungeons in any Zelda game. So, I would say I'd probably want at least 8. I want at least 8 dungeons, like full, massive dungeons. But I don't know if I can expect 8. It's a lot. It depends on how big they are. I mean, if they're big enough, you could just have 4. But it really does depend on how big the dungeons are. Hyrule Castle is being sent to Skyloft for Breath of the Wild. That's a possibility, too. We literally might be going back up to Skyloft and expanded above the Clouds world. Who really even knows? Maybe Demise is coming back. And yes, I already ranked them, Copeland. Nintendo cares about the possible newcomers. They already know the fans will buy, so you got to please newcomers. I think there'll be overworld dungeons. It'll be interesting if there was like a seamless overworld into dungeon kind of thing. They did this a little bit in Breath of the Wild. So, you guys remember some of the shrine puzzles that happened out in the world? Those, not like the ones to find Korok seeds. I mean, the actual shrine ones, like where you're messing with the pillars and the balls and the storms hitting, and like that was like kind of a seamless world into dungeon like thing. But it was very short lived. It was really neat. It was like a proof of concept. They did that like a handful of times, and it was like a proof of concept for a seamless dungeon in the overworld kind of experience. And I hope to see them expand upon that. So it was like they tried it. But thank you so much for a few followers we gained over on Twitch over the last 10 minutes. We got Lawn Viking, Rehan Theon, and SM Grimlock. I game stream over on Twitch. So people wondering, hey, where can I see you play games? Over on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Nintendo Prime TV. Oh, 12. Yeah, I guess when I think about dungeons, I always give Twilight Princess credit for the most because of how long they are. The dungeons in A Link Between Worlds aren't very long. Twilight Princess dungeons are long dungeons. Like, you could spend multiple hours in each dungeon. Easily. So that's why I always consider Twilight Princess the most dungeons, just because they're so long. I know some of the handheld entries have quite a few dungeons. So, I appreciate the correction, though. See, I've forgotten more about Zelda than I care to admit. Just because, with Nintendo Prime now, I'm not so squarely focused on just Zelda all the time. Yeah, I'm focused on it a lot right now, but, it's 35th anniversary. It's not going to be forever. I was just doing a bunch of Mario crap last year. Pokemon probably a lot this next upcoming week or so. It kind of, the stories kind of rotate there. And who knows when we finally get some stuff from Xbox and PlayStation that I feel inspired to talk about. I'm sure there'll be some games and stuff I want to talk about with them eventually, when the time's right. There isn't really a game coming soon from either platform that I'm super excited for yet, but that'll change. Flip2 says, it's already been said Breath of the Wild 2 will be darker than... Well, some people are saying that, but we don't know it for sure. But I can't picture Zelda going darker than that. What do you envision? This is all about, like, how do we view dark? See, Majora's Mask dealt with death, okay? I know there was the whole theory, you know, is Link dead and going through the 5 stages of grief. That's actually not true. AGNO confirmed it's not true, and he's literally the mastermind behind the game. So, no, Link is not dead in Majora's Mask, and he's not going through the 5 stages of grief. Sorry for people who believe that theory. But there is death in the game. Obviously, we know about the whole world getting wrecked, but we also know about multiple characters in the game that are dying or dead, and people dealing with it. The mask, the transformation masks are all about dealing with death. And it's hard to imagine, you know, a Zelda game going deeper than literal death. The only thing I could think of would be things like Princess Zelda dying. Think of how shocking that would be if Princess Zelda actually died. It would be like a Final Fantasy VII moment. Not going to spoil it too much, but there's a Final Fantasy VII moment that's kind of like that. So that would be darker, because not in a million years would we ever imagine, oh, Zelda's not going to die. Link's not going to die. But imagine if Zelda died, or imagine Link had to die to save everyone. That would be pretty dark. That would be darker than some side characters dying. We've never had the main characters be the ones who die. So that's one way it could be darker. There's a game where one of the two has to die. One of the two, Zelda or Link, has to die. That's the only way I can really imagine it getting darker than Twilight Princess. Beyond that, there's other elements they could explore. Nintendo never would. Obviously, rape. Nintendo's not going to go there. You know, certain types of torture Nintendo has hinted at in prior games. Ocarina of Time has a whole bottom of the well section that definitely looks like torture was involved, but not really detailed very well. So they got away with it. I don't think that they're going to go down that route either. I think death is probably the one thing that Nintendo is willing to play around with a little bit, but I don't think they're going to go down some of the other dark themes they could. Yeah. Link's not going to die. Nintendo, this timeline's based on Link dying. Yeah, it's funny when they created the Link is dead timeline. It's like, you just pull that out of your ass, because that timeline can exist anywhere. Link could literally die in any of the adventures, technically. That time, it was such a BS thing, because they couldn't make it work clean. They couldn't cleanly make all the games fit in a single split timeline, so they added a third tier just to make it easy on themselves. The thing is, Zelda fans had already figured out how to make it work with two timelines. It was never perfect, of course. There was always holes. There was no perfect timeline set up before Nintendo revealed it, but most people are like, man, Nintendo really caught out with that third timeline. Probably, even if Zelda died, there'll be a new Princess Zelda. But yeah, that's the way it works. What I want to see is, okay, so we kind of sort of meet Zelda's dad, right? The King of Hyrule. We meet him in Breath of the Wild. Why don't we ever meet the mothers? Now, in Age of Calamity, Zelda's mom is hinted at in Age of Calamity, but we still don't meet her. When are we going to meet Link? Well, Link's parents, period. Let alone Zelda's mom. I want to see a game that actually gives us both parents for both characters. We always hear stories about the parents. And once in a while, we'll see the king. But we never see the mom for Zelda, and we never see Link's parents. We saw Link's grandma. I don't know why we couldn't see the grandpa, too, but we saw Link's grandma. Link's sister. But why not the parents? I don't get it. And, like, his sister's not that old, so his parents, you know, Errol's not very old. Link's not very old, so it's like, okay, where are his parents? What happened to them? I know they're gone, they're dead or whatever, but like, how? You know, the Wind Waker never really fully explains it. They kind of skip over it. Yeah, they didn't really explain much about the hand in the toilet. It's a funny moment in the game and an interesting side quest, but yeah, they don't really explain much about the hand in the toilet. That's one of the few like side quests in the game that it feels like they just thought it was funny and they didn't bother to flesh it out. Which is really weird in Majora's Mask, and so many of the side quests are fleshed out. But that's like the one where it's like, yeah, we didn't really put much thought into it, we just thought it was funny. Maybe. I don't know enough about Miyamoto or AJ Noma's personal life. I mean, I know Miyamoto's married with kids. I think AJ Noma is too. But I don't know anything about their personal lives growing up that they haven't divulged publicly. Like, Miyamoto talked about how he came up with Zelda before, going on adventures in his backyard and stuff when he was a kid. But he doesn't really go into extreme detail on his personal life because, duh, it's his personal life. My dog does to his stuffy. Jesus Christ. You just want to give it. Yeah, just take it. Jesus. That's really horrible. Life goals, though, huh? Minish Cap's great. I ranked Minish Cap pretty high. I feel like, anyways. Minish Cap came in at number 10 on my list. It makes my top 10 Zelda games. I beat out Spirit Tracks and Ocarina of Time. And A Link to the Past. Dude, Minish Cap's great. There's a canon reason that Zelda is the name of the princess every time. You're pretty close on why it is. But anyways, all right, I'm gonna go, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Catch you guys later. It was a fun stream. Peace. Peace. Catch you guys later. Oh, I gotta shout out all the super chats today. We had I gotta go way back because we had all that weird. So we had Adam Butters for $4.99. Thank you so much. We had Patricia Gonzalez for $5. Chris Kurosaki for $2. JLo for $10, and then we have Pat with a $10 donation. Thank you guys so much for the support today. Hopefully you enjoyed all the videos today. More coming tomorrow. You know how it goes. It's Monday. Let's have fun. I didn't mean to ignore all your comments. You have a final question. Wait, what? Get your question in. Don't know if I have an answer, but get it in. Get it in. I don't mean to ignore people. Goodbye, everyone. Happy Zelda 35th anniversary for Zelda. I don't try to ignore people, I promise. Would love it, Breath of the Wild 2, they tackle the aspect of how Zelda does admire Link for helping her defeat Ganon, but also remember that they killed everyone 100 years. They didn't really kill everyone 100 years earlier. I'm not about to eat anything. Maybe my chick. Final question. Would you like it if Breath of the Wild 2 tackles how Zelda admires Link, but she knows that it was also their fault for how everyone died? But everyone didn't die. The only thing they could recognize, the champion's death. Because everyone didn't die. Zelda kind of saved everyone. It's the champions that died. I mean, obviously some people in Hyrule Castle died, clearly. I don't think they'd ever view it as their fault. Because that would mean they killed people, and they didn't. They did the best they could. I don't think they'll ever see remorse in not being able to do more. It doesn't sound like the Nintendo way of doing things. In real life, a lot of people would be like, man, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but I don't think Nintendo is going to go down that route. They tend to not get quite that deep with their story, even though Zelda's one of the deeper stories they do have. All right, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Happy Zelda 35th anniversary. Catch you guys in the next video. How's your working out going? Good. 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday.